My wonderful, beautiful friends, it is time. Last week we had the first Challenge Cup of 2021. Tonight we have the first PR Invitational of 2021. Hope you're all sitting comfortably. This promises to be an exciting evening. Of that, there is no doubt. I am your girl, TK Layla, and we are coming to you with what I do believe is the 5th EU ARMS PR Invitational. The top 8 players of Europe from the past season will be doing battle in a double elimination tournament to see which of them will be, quote unquote, the best that the ARMS community have to offer in the European region. It should be a lot of fun. For those of you who are not able to follow along properly, we do have explanation bracket in the chat, so you can follow along over on the challenge site. But here is the overlay for you here and now. As you can see, the tournament bracket looks like this. The revolutionary Riffer, who just cannot seem to stop winning as of late, will be in round 1. They'll be going up against Alimento. Alistair, making it into the top 8 pretty nicely indeed, will be going up against Yam in their match-up. It'll be an all-British affair between Iceman and Replicant down on the 3rd match of the list. And meanwhile, on the 4th match of round 1, we'll have Grimwood going up against Raziel. So we've got 2 Germans, 2 from Ireland, and 4 from the good old United Kingdom. It should promise to be a lot of fun. And I, obviously, as your wonderful host and commentator throughout, will be excited to see if there is going to be a little bit of a changing of the guard. If Riffer is once again going to reign supreme, or if we are going to see the likes of Alistair slowly rise up and take the fight to them as well. We will be starting off with Iceman versus Replicants. So match number 3 of round 1, it will be the all-British affair to start off this competition. So for those of you who are just joining, this is all determined via the Challenge Cups and other ARMS-related events in the past. The higher up in a tournament you finish, the more PR points you score. It's as simple as that, and at the end of each season, a top 10 will be displayed over at at European ARMS on Twitter. That gets shared around and obviously goes up on their Discord as well. Information down below if you would like to join the Discord that way. But you get the general idea. The top 10 are basically there so that if something is up, or if somebody from the top 8 can't make it to one of the events, then it falls to the 9th and 10th places respectively to be able to take their position and join in the fray instead. Just making sure everything is properly set up before we dive underway. And there'll be a few little extra adjustments that will be happening throughout the stream. So we're trying our best to keep on top of it where possible. We are getting the lobby up for you now. And both of these two are doing everything in their power progress forward. Obviously, it's very important. Obviously, we know the Challenge Cups, you know, they have a whole lot going on as it is. You always want to be on the history books. You want to be able to win those cups. But first and foremost, getting into the top 10 for the Invitational and then winning the Invitational, that definitely means so much in this state of play. We will be operating with the previous season's stage listing. I know we did have a slight update to that rule set last week for the Challenge Cup for 2021, but for this competition here, because it is based off of the previous season, it will be the old stage list that will be in effect. So the 5 starter stages that our 2 individuals will be banning from will be Buster Beach, DNA Lab, Temple Grounds, Sparring Ring, and Mausoleum. From there, after the initial point, we will then have 2 counterpick stages brought on to the list for our players to also ban from and potentially play on as well, which include Scrapyard and Via Dos. No Spanish players said. Unfortunately, that is just how it is this time round, but this, if anything, should be a good indication or a good encouragement for those who don't see their flag represented here and want to get involved themselves. There's a lot of people who are still umming and ahhing about wanting to join in on the ARMS side of things, so it would be a cool idea. I mean, obviously, you know, we'll always gladly welcome more players in, and you never know, you might be the next, for example, Alistair, who suddenly rises through. We also had Raziel in there as well, and Raziel definitely making a name for themselves as well, so definitely wants to look out for, especially in this invitational here as well. So if you don't see a flag and you want to try and get involved or know somebody who would want to get involved, give them a poke and tell them to try and be as consistent as they can in terms of appearing at any ARMS events throughout the next few months if they want to try and get some more tasty PR points themselves. Obviously, we'll keep you up to date with what is going on elsewhere. Again, there's a whole lot to play for here, and I will just double check with a few individuals just to make sure that we've got all of the information that we need. But for those of you who are joining in the chat, I know some of you are playing themselves, like Replicant and Riffa are coming in to say hello. We don't have Junior this time round. Junior didn't make the top 8, which is unfortunate to see, but that's just how it goes. We'll see if they can bounce back at another point. Yoshi, it's always good to see you in here as well. Nihilus, Eclipse, and Slacks all join on in. It's always good to see the community come out for these events, and this should be massive, big times hype. And as Slacks has put it, old man versus cold man. I mean, I don't know if they'll take too kindly to that, but maybe it's best if you don't ask them yourself on that one. I have enough time to be able to just quickly switch these around because they will be on the wrong sides because it was Replicant who had the lobby up, not Iceman first. So just going to get them switched around so everything is set and ready to go. And it does look like the bans have been done. So it will be Temple Grounds that will be starting off the Invitational. So I hope you're all sitting comfortably. Match number 1 of the PR Invitational is about to be underway. Replicant on the left-hand side of your screen as Lollipop. Iceman coming in with Min Min. Not going to be holding anything back between the two of them. I should hope so anyway. Hydra and Cooler Rank for Replicant for the Lola. Sparky and Ice Rank for Iceman. And per usual, it is the Electrifying Glove that will be on the Dragon Arm for Min Min. See if they can get that permacharge up as soon as physically possible. And there you go, using the Pillars of Temple Grounds to give them a little extra shield and a little extra complication for Replicant to come on through. They do have the curved arm for that cooldown to get around with it, but once that glove is up, it can be quite terrifying to fight up against, and it will be a grab from Iceman that pops this health lead into their advantage for the time being, although it is still early days. But another successful shock is definitely going to put it a bit more comfortably on their side of the field. But never underestimate the power of that Hydra, especially if it's charged up. And the last thing that Iceman wants to do is lose that perma-charge, and you see every now and then trying to get it back up, but the Ice Dragon going to stall things out and also get the grab as well, which puts Iceman in control. Gets enough time to get the Sparky back up into that perma state, both with Rush available and ready to go, but it's Replicant crucially who is in critical and cannot afford to take any more damage, especially with the last 30 seconds still to come. Lola is a hard target to hit, especially with her bouncy tenacity just springing around all over the place. And another grab is going to fall a little shy off the Min target, who's just as agile, to be honest, but doesn't have that perma charge thanks to the Hydra. And another successful hit with that Hydra puts Replicant starting to get that control back a little bit more, and has to go for the rush as Iceman, trying to keep Replicant at bay. But another successful Hydra hit, and Replicant knows that they've just turned this on their head in the last 10 seconds, and they get the KO as well. What a start to this matchup. Iceman looked like they had that under control, and Replicant bouncing back, no pun intended. That Hydra paying off beautifully in the end, and now a rush as well, starting things off. 405 damage, and Iceman, just like that on the back foot, caught by the nade as well. And suddenly, Replicant is coming in with a completely different arsenal here. The nade is keeping Iceman at bay, and look at the damage! Look at the health lead! Replicant wants to get a perfect! Replicant is one hit away from a perfect. Can Iceman stop them? Yes, they can! No perfect this time around for Replicant. Nearly got it, but the Chakram finally coming in clutch, but it's too little, too late. And Replicant is going to start off with the lead by 1-0. Well, I don't know about you, but how that first point was going, I wasn't fully expecting Replicant to turn that around the way they did, but goodness gracious me, that really came out of nowhere, that comeback. That was just... Iceman had that relatively under control, but Replicant just with successful Hydra hit after successful Hydra hit, consistently getting Iceman caught up, forcing them into the corner, forced Iceman to use their rush early, and not only did it not land, Replicant just needed to hit one more time to get the lead, and did so, held onto rush, and immediately used it in point 2, and gave themselves a massive advantage. Very nearly a perfect. Could you imagine that? A perfect on the first match, especially against Iceman of all people. It is a feat in and of itself. And we are going to see the bands come up, and we'll see what Iceman is going to bring to the table on this occasion. We're going to see Sparring Ring and Via Dolce band, and Scrapyard will be coming up. So we are going to see our first counter pick of the day. Iceman opting for the wonderfully chaotic stage that is Scrapyard, and going to come in with Ribbon Ring to boot. Replicant, not really going to change anything. Definitely want to bring in that Hydra now to try and stop Ribbon Girl, and immediately gets a self-destruct from that nade. The first hit, the first damage is a self-destruct. It's never what you really want to see. I mean, yes, it's still small damage, but you never want to concede first damage like in a way like that. But the hot slap and the nade going to be a very dangerous combination to go up against with this Ribbon. But so far, Replicant is managing to keep Ribbon Girl grounded with the use of that Hydra. Does have the cooldown in case she does start to get a little carried away. We are going to lose one of the pillars very quickly on. And then again, another free Hydra poke for Replicant. And this one a little bit more hotter. Just immediately falls Ribbon Girl the second it hits. Obviously, Iceman has that as well with the hot slap. Gets caught with the chill and just has to kind of like just stay there, especially behind that pillar. Now the pillar is gone, no more hiding around. I mean, yes, this is a very vertical heavy stage, so you'll see both of them just want to try and stay in the air. Well, I say stay in the air. Ribbon Girl wants to stay in the air. Lola can just really bounce around, and ooh, Iceman just about getting away with that rush. Get caught on the first part of it, but thankfully the rest of it bolted on down, and Replicant has enough time to get the shield up. Forced into the corner by Ribbon. Iceman into critical, misses with the grab, but and again just too close to Replicant, gets caught with another follow-up poke, and the chill comes up as well. Shield is up, has to wait for the ice to cool down, but it is going to be for naught. Another Hydra poke. Really is Iceman's Achilles heel at this point. It's Replicant who's on set point already. And as we go into the next point, Hydra Coolerang still for Replicant, because why not? Triblast is going to come out for Iceman now alongside that hot slap, and they just not landing as much as they'd like to. So it's Replicant with the rush advantage, but Iceman nearly with it back as well. Finally, there it is. Both arms weak there for Replicant. Bit more pressure from Iceman, but the rush again is going to sweep Iceman away. 350 damage. And at least this one much better purchase. And again caught with the cooler, and Iceman very quickly realizing nothing they could do in that situation. But again, forcing the arm weak on the left hand side, so keeps finding ways through. And slowly but surely they are taking damage away from Replicant. And if they can keep this momentum going, you never know, that rush may yet come in clutch. But again, on the cusp of critical. Replicant with the health lead, another successful Hydra read. Iceman just can't seem to keep that momentum on their side. They're starting to close up the gap again, but they've allowed Replicant to take that high ground, and a bouncy Lola from that angle is always dangerous, and somehow Replicant again gets the first damage, but can't get the rest of the rush, but neither could Iceman. Iceman didn't hit a single thing, and again, Replicant just looking for one more hit, finds it, and it is Iceman who drops by 2 points to 0. Well, I don't know about you, but Rep is on fire today, and that is an impressive showing. Iceman just could not keep that momentum that they were starting to build going, and Replicant shut it down straight away. And with that, it is going to be Replicant winning the United Kingdom fight between themselves and Iceman, and will be progressing into the next match. So we're just gonna head straight back on to the lobby area, so you can see that the standards at the moment. Obviously, we know we just saw Replicant take out Iceman by 2 points to 0, and we are now going to go in to the next matchup. And no, what? That can't be right. That can't be right. I am looking at Discord. And apparently it's Alistair versus Alimento on stream next. Did we miss Alimento beating Riffa? What? How has that happened? You have got to be kidding me. If there is any match I would have loved to have seen, it's that, because I'm sorry, how is Alimento Riffa's in underground bracket from round 1? That just doesn't happen. That just doesn't happen at all. I am in shock. I am in shock trying to comprehend that. Well, okay then. So it's... Well. So it means it's going to be Alimento versus Alistair in the first of our semi-finals. And I'll tell you right now, had you told me that that is a match that was going to be happening today, I don't know if I'd have believed you or not, but hey, there we go. So, semi-final number 1. And it will be Alistair versus Alimento. Match is going to be underway. So Alistair on the left hand side of your screen, coming in with Coil, the Tri-Blast and the Funchuck. Alimento meanwhile coming in with the Hydra and the Sparky, and immediately lands the Hydra on the Coil. Always want to keep that Coil grounded as much as you can, especially with how mobile she is. But again, caught by the Sparky and immediately rinsed down by the Hydra as well. Alimento definitely showing up to fight, wants to keep this momentum going, and absolutely doing so. Another successful grab onto Alistair, and Alimento is finding their way through, and more successful hit. Goodness me, Alimento is popping off here. Alistair is going to finally fling in with the rush and try to slow them down, but look at the damage already on the side of Alimento. They've got Alistair into critical, finally caught out by the Triblast, but what a start here from Alimento. Gets the Sparky almost back up, but not quite, just a couple of nanoseconds away from getting that perfect charge, and now Alistair finally starting to control this fight a little bit more, slow that pace down, gets a grab as well, shielding at the wrong time there, Alimento, and it means both with rush available, and Alistair closes in for the kill. Will they get it? They do get it, and despite such a good start there from Alimento, it's going to be Alistair who takes the initiative. And we'll see if they can keep that going now. Triblast and the Fun Truck still coming on in, so still explosives and stuns all around. Alimento not going to switch anything either. That Hydra really was coming in nice, and the Sparky was keeping Alistair at bay. And another successful rush hit. 250, couldn't quite get the second half of it. But still, good damage to see. It's always hard to go up against the coil, but again, another solid Sparky read from Alimento. It keeps Alistair grounded, it keeps them with damage on their side, and again another successful hit. They're just pinning Alistair into the corner, who has to deploy the rush just to stop Alimento again, just like they did last time round. And you remember that is when it started to turn in Alistair's favor. Coil could charge up rush so quickly thanks to the fact that they do have that ability to get a third arm. It is random whichever way it goes for the charge. But again, it's another punish from Alimento, another solid Sparky hit and a grab. And Alimento is really bringing this fight right here and now. Another odd start, but it's going to be Alistair who brings in what is essentially 3 toasters to the party. So all of the toasts imaginable, but again, it's gonna be another successful rush for Alimento. Again, I say successful, they got the shock into the rush, but again, the second part of it, they just could not get the juggle off, and Alistair will at least only take a little portion of that, but again, another shock into another grab, and Alimento is really running here, and again caught by Curls Rush as they have them for most of the match so far, but they don't really seem to be phased by it whatsoever. Alistair is just flinging out glove left, right, and center, trying to outbox Alimento, who really only has the one Sparky, but it's the Hydra that Alistair is really scared of here. Alimento just ducking and weaving for the time being, keeping that kind of balance level, and another rush coming out, and Alimento tried to get away but got stuck on the wall there and gets caught on the tail end of that rush, but continues to keep the health lead for now. 30 seconds left on the clock. They're trying to pin Coil in, who is going to have the shield up, chip damage, and nothing more. It also allows Alistair to charge up that rush that little bit quicker, considering the fact that they did go for it. But another Sparky hit, and it does manage to get another poke in as well. Here comes the rush, and Alimento punishes it this time round. 10 seconds on the clock, and Alistair knows it's pretty much over, and it's going to be Alimento. Alimento is going to take the first point in this set. Well, I don't know about you, but so much could change here. Like, everything could change in a heartbeat. And bearing in mind that we have seen Alimento time and time again, they have been improving with every single event that they've been getting themselves into, but also remember that Alimento has only finished in top 3 in the Challenge Cups once. And that was a second place that they were able to get. So they were able to get to the grand final on their first time getting to the top 3. But they've never won. They've never won the Challenge Cup. So to knock out Riffer in round 1 and take a point away from Alistair here, it would be a historic moment. And it would change the complexion of this evening if Alimento gets the best of Alistair as well. Just, you never know. You just never know. But now we go to Mausoleum. Alistair with the coil. Roaster and the Fun Chuck. Once again, we're going to see the Sparky and the Hydra, so Alimento knows exactly what's working for them, but can they slow down? Can they continue to get the successful read on this coil? We will soon find out, and so far it's going to be Alistair who got the first punch in. Again, the Roaster is always so scary. It's a fully unguided arm, so manual aiming all the way through, but it trades that off for that little extra damage, which is why that flame is always so scary. And Alimento does not want to be getting caught by it anytime soon. They haven't had a chance to really get the perma charge up on the Sparky as of yet, so Alistair is able to control it for the time being. Rush will come out, but shield is up. Chip damage and nothing more than that against Alimento, who has to be careful of all of those Fun Chucks, and now it's Alistair who gets the shield up. Nothing that Alimento could do about that either. Arm weak on the left hand side, but so far Alistair has this under control now, and now they're starting to find their comfort. They're keeping Alimento in check, but again, another rogue Sparky hit manages to find its way through. It gives Alimento hope that they can still find a way in this match. 30 seconds left to go. Both trade a hit, but crucially, Alistair had the charge up on the Roaster. Keeps Alimento at bay. Rush will come out as well. Shield is up once again for Alimento, who is on the cusp of critical. Alistair does have health lead, and you feel like with 15 seconds to go, Alimento's going to have to get some really opportune Sparky hits if they want to try and keep this going, but now they're into critical, and I feel like that is probably going to do it. Nothing really that Alimento could do at this point, but just to keep this fight going as long as physically possible. Alistair will get close to that rush and crucially take this initial point. So, Alistair finally finds a set that is working for them. I mean, the Mausoleum is also a stage that Coil does pretty much excel at, and gets the grab on Alimento as well. It's always hard to slow down a Coil in the best of times, and another rush right in front of them. 345 damage. Halves Alimento's health, who does have rush of their own, but just cannot find a way through at the moment, and caught by the Roaster. And now the trampoline is up as well, and we know that Coil won't mind that in the slightest, but does get caught by the rush here. 205. Alimento couldn't quite get the tail end of it, but another successful Hydra hit. And you feel like Alistair was going towards that trampoline, and is actually going to get caught by another Sparky. And just like that, the turntables, as Coil is just going to linger on back just a little bit, try and entice Min Min to come closer. They know they can easily just ignore the trampoline, whereas Alimento will have to go into it, and unfortunately committed to that Sparky. No sooner had Alistair had gone for the rush, it will be Alistair's point, and it ties this set up 1 apiece. Alistair is determined to also get on the scoring sheets. Remember that Alistair also has never won the Challenge Cups either. They've made it into the Grand Final once before. They've made it to third twice. And again, both of these two have never won the Challenge Cup. So, for both of these players, it is absolutely crucial that they can make their way into Winners Final and guarantee that top 3 finish right here and right now. They're both going to check in, and Alimento is going to take Alistair to sparring ring, and we saw that they were able to slow down and keep Coil grounded in Buster Beach, and that was a closed-in stage as it was. Now we have sparring ring to add to the mix, so we'll see if Alimento can do it 2 times as in this set, or if Alistair is going to wise up to Alimento's trick. So here we go. It is Roaster and Funchuck versus Sparky and Hydra. Pretty much the exact same combinations they've been fighting with in Mausoleum. And it's going to be Alimento who gets the chance to get the charge up, and immediately caught with the Funchuck with those 2 different modes of attacking. And it's Alimento who is immediately going to lose that Dragon Arm, and Alistair will be the first to blink on the rush. Chip damage and nothing more than that. Arms weak on both sides because of the damage to the shield. And Alimento does get a successful Hydra poke and charges up that Sparky immediately. Always a bigger hitbox to worry about. Alistair got 2 hits back to back there, but just too spaced out to do anything about it. And Alimento unfortunately whiffing with the rush as well. And Alistair will just shield it around, but that shield can be punished. And another grab from Alimento pops this a bit closer, and another successful volley there from Alimento. 3 hits for the price of 1, and just like that, another Sparky hit, and Alistair in critical, knowing full well they're pretty much a punch away from going down here. They do have rush, and Elemental unfortunately backflips straight into it, and now it is advantage to Alistair. Both of these are a punch away from going down. You surely don't want to see a double, I mean, do you want to see a double KO in PR Invitational? Especially at this stage, knowing top 3 is in the works, and it's gonna be the Fun Chuck that will silence Elemental for the time being and swings the advantage to Alistair. What can Elemento do from here? They do have Rush ready to go. The Sparky and Hydra continues to come in. The Tri-Blast is coming in now from Alistair just to give themselves that little bit of extra coverage, because they need to make sure that Elemento cannot get into a position to punish them. Both with Rush available, and it will be Alistair who blinks once again. And it is going to be another successful Rush confirm for Alistair, who immediately pegs Elemento down, and you just feel like it's only a matter of time, or is it? Because Alistair again caught out by another Sparky hit, but these Tri-Blasts really are starting to catch up with Elemento. They're falling for them on every other volley, but it is going to be another grab to keep Alistair in the thick of things, keep them guessing, but again just sidesteps into another pair of bolts, and Rush is available. Alistair has to be very careful here, but so does Elemento, and unfortunately they don't win out the Rush exchange. It goes in the favor of Coil. It will be Alistair who will take this away. Elemento did so incredibly well, but it will be Alistair who books their ticket into the winners final. There won't be a second upset in a row. Elemento drops into underground bracket, and it will be Alistair who will be waiting for whoever wins in the next semi-final. Top 3 guaranteed for Alistair. For whatever reason, my bracket thing is not updating to properly display what it should be, what it should actually be displaying. I do apologize for this. I don't know why it's doing that. There's just a little bit of a glitch. No, it still doesn't want to have any part of it. There we go. That's much better. Yeah, no idea what it was playing at there, but there we go. We got it back. So that is going to be the bracket as it stands. Alistair will be going through ahead of Elemento by 2 points to 1. It's going to be another British fight coming up as Replicant will be going up against Grimwood. That is going to be a very interesting matchup. And, well, we're going to see what... Well, I've just realized it's going to be an all-British winners final, whatever happens here. So who knows how this is going to play out, because this is... Yeah, this is going to be incredibly spicy. So we're going to get ourselves geared up for semi-final number 2. Replicant to take on Grimwood, the winner of which will face Alistair. Just having somebody just quickly nip on out there. And between these two again, there's a whole lot of history between them. Grimwood has been on a bit of a roll as of late. They'll definitely want to keep that momentum going. Replicant surprising Iceman, however, so you never know what could happen. We saw Replicant do incredibly well against Iceman, holding their own, coming back from some very interesting moments. So we'll see if they can keep that going against Grimwood, but who in the world knows how this one is going to play out, especially between these two. Remember, the winner of which will go on to face Alistair, a feat that they know means that they'll have to prepare for a coil. And it will be Replicant on the left-hand side of your screen and Grimwood on the right. And The matchup is going to be underway. Grimwood as Max Brass. I don't think anybody is surprised to see that in the slightest. On the left-hand side, Replicant coming in with Lola, as we saw in the previous matchup. Nade and Phoenix versus Nade and Shakram. So yeah, both opting for the unguided heavy-duty Nade. But both coming in with a different style. Again, a curved arm for each of them. Technically, the Phoenix does count. And Replicant knows full well that they have to bring in an arm like the Phoenix to make sure that Brass does not stay standing, since they are a heavyweight character. And again, just walling Replicant out, keeping them in the corner and really coming in. Gloves flying here. Puts Replicant pretty much into an unwinnable territory there. And just completely walls them out with a big time rush. Grimwood not backing down in the slightest and immediately bulks right back on up because it's Brass and you know they're not going to give a damn. Another rush coming on out, but it's not going to be any help whatsoever there. The Replicant keeps that alive for the time being, but knows full well that rush, they needed to land with that, especially considering the fact that we know Grimwood, they completely destroyed them in that previous point. And again, Grimwood just bulks on up, runs through with the nade, does get tagged by the Hydra, but because it's not charged, it doesn't do anything to them. That one, much more better off. Brass will only really go down if you get that 1-2 combination, a grab, or a charged up fire elemental hit. And the rush is going to come out, but this time it bounces off Replicant. No damage other than chip damage. And again, the Hydras are going through, but they're not charged up, so Grimwood is just unfazed by it and continues to bulk up and keeps these arms at a permacharge spot. And the nade, the AoE explosion from the nade cancels Replicant's rush immediately. And again, starting to get pinned into that hot pocket. Not where you want to be, especially on a stage like Buster Beach. And the stun from the Shakram leads to another walled out rush explosion. And Grimwood is going to take the initiative. They lead the set by 1-0. These matches are coming at you thick and fast. And do remember that it's all at stakes. There's going to be massive amounts of playtime from all competitors, and do remember that this tournament does have a prize pool. It's currently sitting at $25 at the moment. You can contribute it to it yourselves if you wish. The link should be in the chat. But yeah, they'll all want to try and get something on the table here. We're going to keep you up to date with everything that's going on at the moment. We do know that Riffa has managed to best Yam by 2-0 and Iceman has bested Raziel by 2-0. So Yam and Raziel are both out of this competition. Alimento will now have to take on Iceman down in the underground bracket, so the heavy hitters just keep on coming for Alimento. Riffa will take on the loser of this match between Replicant and Grimwood, and so far it is going to be Grimwood who is coming into this with a lot of momentum here as we head into Mausoleum. Replicant's got a Seiki alongside that Roaster, so unguided arm versus fully automated arm. And we're going to see if Replicant can get any kind of big rush damage from that missile. We know how devastating it can be. And meanwhile, Grimwood coming in with that popper, so not the best of switches for them, because in the fact that, yes, it is quick, so they'll be able to poke on through with it, and the windy ability gives them another tool to be able to do the juggles with the rush. At the same time, it can be punched through by pretty much anything that Replicant has here, the Roaster and the Seiki respectively, so we'll have to see which one gets through the most. Seiki ignores the grab attempt from Grimwood, but again, because it wasn't charged up, it won't worry Grimwood too much. Again, another Shakram here, and that is just a devastating combination from Grimwood. Gets the stun with the Shakram, the juggle with the popper, and then the rest of the rush came in as well. And Replicant took a fair amount of damage there, but is still very much in this match, still landing some decent hits in. But again, pegged down into critical, goes for the rush, but Grimwood is going to have none of that chip damage and nothing else. And the popper again, an immediate punish. The second Replicant's rush ended, Grimwood was right there. There is another popper hit, and that is going to be set point for Grimwood. So So what is going to be the call from Replicant? We're going to see the Roaster be ditched, and we're going to have the Hydra coming in as well. A bit more coverage to try and make up for Brass's sheer structure. And also, bearing in mind it's not a fully unguided arm this time round, maybe the Hydra might be a bit more consistent, but again, it's another 1-2 hit into a juggle for Grimwood, who is not relenting in the slightest. Already has Replicant on the cusp of critical, and Rep just cannot win out, whether it's on the ground or in the air. Grimwood is just too much. Big ol' Max Brass ends it on 69, and it is a 2-0 set for the Maximum Grim. From that first match, it was pretty much academic. Grimwood just not having any of it right now, and yeah, this is going to be, it was always going to be an uphill battle for Replicant, but a very good showing for them. It does mean that our top 3 is going to be sorted. So as we head straight back on into things, it will be the first of our best of 5 sets coming on up in just one moment. I'm going to update you on how the bracket is looking currently now, because after that match it pretty much reads like this. Alistair will take on Grimwood, having bested Alimento and Yam respectively. Grimwood having bested Replicant and Raziel. It's going to be an all-British winners final, so 2 Brits make up 2 of the 3 podium positions that will be up for grabs in this tournament. We still have 2 Brits still in it in the underground bracket. Replicant going up against Riffer, and Iceman going up against Alimento. We'll see which one of those will be able to advance into the underground semi-final, then into underground final. Remember, that final spot is where the top 3 positions will be coming on into it, but it's going to be a very interesting matchup between the next 2 individuals. So Grimwood will be on the left of your screen. I do believe that will be a given. On the right hand side of your screen, it will be once they join in, Alistair. And honestly, I don't know how this match is going to go. We've seen how brutal and how aggressive Grimwood is, and it's taken Alistair a little while to get in, especially on that previous set against Yam. But the second they went onto a stage that favored them a little bit more, even with sparring, they felt like they were sort of like fighting from underneath Lola. But even towards the end, you felt like control was finally starting to go Alice's way. It's gonna be a very tasty matchup. We've got the aggressive non-stop style of Max Brass versus the strategic non-stop style of Coil. So your guess is as good as mine to see which way this will play out. And obviously, like I said, on the underground bracket, we've got Replicant, Riffer, and Alimento Iceman. We'll keep you up to date with what will be happening down there. But as I said, this is the first of our best of 5s here today. This for a spot in the grand finals. We know Grimwood has won Challenge Cups before, so it would not be unusual to see him into the grand final. But I'll tell you right now, I don't think anybody was expecting this kind of a winners final, to see it being Alistair and Grimwood, knowing full well that Riffer's having to fight through the underground bracket from the get-go. It still feels a bit surreal just to say that, but yeah, we are all good to go and ready here. But for Alistair, like I said, they've only made it to grand final once. Just the one time. That final was the 56th Cup, so they know that they have the potential to get there, but it's just going to be a case of, can they keep this consistent streak up? Can they find a way of making sure that Max Brass does not get carried away, keep them at bay? And especially, we haven't really seen the full use of Brass's abilities. Obviously, we've seen that bulk up, but knowing full well that the second they drop into critical, the second Brass drops into critical, it's going to be so much power. So it's, yeah, we will absolutely see what will be happening here. It's going to be it is going to be Buster Beach is where we'll be starting off with. Grimwood on the left-hand side of your screen. We'll be switching out Max Brass, actually, so it won't be the Brass. It's going to be the Kid Cobra who will be coming in for Grim, and Alistair, naturally, will remain with the Coil. So it's going to be Clapback Popper versus Nade, and the hottest of slams. And naturally, a big old enemy against an arm like the Clapback and the Guardian. Two shield arms that the second they are deployed, obviously if it does hit a glove, it will rebound it straight back into Coil's face. But naturally, they've also got the slap, which is going to curve around it and really keep Grimwood guessing. But so far, they're able to wall Alistair out, and we saw how much of a difficulty Alistair had in Buster Beach with Alimento, but does get a better purchase with the rush, using it very early, which to be fair is expected from a Coil considering how quickly they do charge up the rushes. Again, they cannot underestimate that Popper Clapback combination that Grimwood is bringing to the table. And Grimwood really going to try and commit to this, forces Coil into the hot pocket, but can't do anything with that rush. And it means that Alistair has a chance to come back out, or do they? Caught once again by the charged up Popper, who sends him straight back into that pocket. And it's Alistair who has the rush, tries to go for it, but Grimwood does get the shield up, chip damage, and nothing more than that, and two hot slaps. It's always dangerous to go up against two of the curved utility, and you know that Coil has that at her possession. But it's going to be Grimwood who slowly has the health lead, trying to force the initiative, pops Alistair down into critical, does get caught by the slap though, and both are very close to a rush here. And with 12 seconds to go, Grimwood knows it's Alistair who has to make the move here, but they cannot afford to get carried away. Uses the rush to force Alistair back. Now what will Alistair's choice be here? It's a grab! I don't think that'll be enough. It will not be enough. Alistair cannot get any further damage off of that, and Grimwood just about hangs on in there. Grimwood takes the initiative, will keep that Clapback and Popper on hand. Alistair going to get a little annoyed with this combination. It is going to bring in that nade to go alongside the hottest of slaps, and we'll see if they can find any proper purchase. And in fact, they do indeed get the tag on Grimwood, who just about gets away with it, gets a very quick, out of nowhere Popper shot that yoinks that rush right away from Alistair, who now finds themselves on the lower side of the stage, and Grimwood is going to try their best to keep them there. Another good, successful Popper read, and Alistair out to just go unrelenting with these arms, try to find a way through, but so far Grimwood is just playing this cautiously, carefully. Does get clipped by the slap, but again, not allowing it to ruin them too much, both with rush available, but wanders straight into Alistair's aggression and comes in with a rush as well, 270, and suddenly Alistair has turned this match right back on its head. But again, this is Grimwood we're talking about, this is Cobra we're talking about, a slippery, slidey customer, slides in with another grab, and comes for the rush, but the nade is going to stop them. It was either the nade or the slap, but in either case, it takes Grimwood down to 1 HP, who does get a hit with the Popper, but now they know they cannot afford to take another bit of damage, and not only that, they've got 20 seconds to go, and that is going to tie this match up. So far, this is even Stevens from the pairs, than one managing to control the match more than the other, and now as we go into match 3 to decide who takes the initiative in this set, Alistair will immediately fire on with the rush. Grimwood not going to have any of it this time around. It does get clipped in the end, but crucially it's Alistair who missed the first rush of this matchup. But again, they've already got their rush back onto where Grimwood's was. So this is what I mean by core, because they have that third arm, because they're able to fling out so many arms so consistently quick, they're able to just charge the rush back up, which is why you see Alistair just go for it every now and then, and gets another punish onto Grimwood, who does at least manage to get a grab out of all of that, so at least get some form of damage. But again, another rush that Alistair is able to cancel, comes out with the rush, immediately just swims straight on in, gliding through with their wonderful engine on their back, propelling them in. Grimwood just had no chance to avoid it, no chance to stop it, and now just one more tap is all Coil needs for Alistair to take the lead of this set by 1-0. So our third all-British fight of the tournament, and this time the first point is going to go the way of Alistair with the coil. Some very crucial little snipes there between the slap and the nade, whether it's the AoE explosion or the hot slap managing to find its way behind. Alistair slowly but surely got themselves back into that match. They came very close to taking the initial point, but Grimwood had done enough to hold on. But from that point onwards, Alistair was doing everything in their power to just bring that straight back down to business. So Grimwood says, alright then, the Cobra is gone. Brass is up, ready to do battle against Coil. We are back to bust the beach. So Grimwood knows that they are going to be able to find a way of stalling out and keeping Alistair locked into a corner and keeping their movement as restricted as possible. But Alistair bringing in the Tri-Blaster, both are going to come in with bolts respectively. It's the Roaster for Grimwood and it is the Nade for Alistair. So both going for the Unguided Arm, both going for a set of the Tri-Blast. The only difference then is the fact that the Nade explodes, whereas the Roaster just does big time fiery damage. And so far it's even Stevens once again. It's going to be Grimwood who has the rush available first. Alistair not too far behind and will pop the rush immediately, and is actually going to catch Grimwood by surprise. 290 damage. Again, you feel like when Alistair is so far back, Grimwood's like, okay, I should be relatively okay to fight from here, but the rush still managing to catch them off guard. So Alistair's still able to find a way through, and initially took damage from the Tri-Blast, and how about that for a pixel perfect punish from Alistair? Got that grab timed beautifully, and it does send Grimwood into critical, who gets into that critical buffed up state. And now only 1 point of damage, but does catch the Tri-Blast once again. So it's Alistair knowing full well that Brass is now on a rampage. All of these grab attempts coming out. And it's going to be the case of what Alistair chooses to do here. 20 seconds on the clock. Do they go ahead and use the rush just to keep themselves at bay? Or do they try and hope that the Tri-Blast finds its way through? Because the rush is going to come out and punish them for that. That is what happens when you stretch out way too far, and Brass gets the punish with the rush. And immediately starting off with a jump and a commitment, but Grimwood falls right into the trap of those Tri-Blasts, and the second that gets buffed up, it's always crucially bad, and it will force the shield to break, so at least gets a bit of damage on the side for Alistair. But to be fair, they won't really care whether or not chip damage came through or the rush came up, because look at how consistent Alistair is being here. Another AoE explosion is going to tip Grimwood into critical, but this is where Grimwood won it last time round with all of the heavy hits they did. From here, another punch from the Nade is going to find its way through, and Alistair does have rush, and you know full well if they find Grimwood just committed just a little too much, a rush may come up. But having said that, Grimwood is in the state of mind where they know a rush could easily punish as well. Another AO explosion just tagging Grimwood from behind. Again, more of these 1-2s, and finally the Nade finds its way through. Alistair starting off with a mean streak and a mean flurry there, and not giving Grimwood the chance to really properly get back into it. Having to wait out another successful hit, but the rush will come out and catch Alistair. 275 damage, and we'll see what the response from Alistair will be at this point. You know, just see Grimwood just immediately just double back towards the hot pocket themselves. They are fine just going back there and baiting Alistair in to a mistake. This is what we mean by a stage like Bust the Beach, really restricting what Coil can do. Having to block through the explosion, knowing full well that would have punished him completely. Both go for the grab, and Alistair again caught out by the explosion of the Tri-Blast. Arm weak on the side for Grimwood, cannot afford to take too much more pressure from that, and that's why they're trying to move forward to try to get into a rush territory. Does so, gives themselves a little bit of breathing space. Both arms now weak for Coil, but crucially they have rush, and they're both on a similar health here, and actually going to go for it right here and now. So big time damage coming, 290. It puts Grimwood into critical. So here comes the maxed out buffed up state of Grimwood, and it's up to Alistair to try to find a way of slowing them down, and just whittles their health away with bolt hit after bolt hit after bolt hit. And whilst Brass can take a good number of those and just be unfazed by it, too many is going to take it away from you, especially when you're already in critical. And with that, Alistair, in winners final, has a 2-0 lead over Grimwood. Two trips to Buster Beach, 2 victories for Alistair, but that second point was a little bit hit and miss there. It could have easily swung to Grimwood with how aggressive and consistent they were being with their hits, but again, towards the end, those bolt hits, Grimwood starting to underestimate it just a little bit too much. And unfortunately, absolutely catching up with them in the end. So, we are going to see a change of pace. We are going to head towards DNA Labs for match number 3 of Winners Final. I don't know why it still says Winners Semi-Finals. I do apologise for that. It should be Winners Final. There you go. And it is 2-0 for Alistair. They have a couple of chances at this, but we also know it's never over. It's never over until it's over. And Grimwood is going to be 3 for 3 with different character switches, because we went from Kid Cobra to Max Brass to Master Mummy. And we're going to see Nade and Popper coming up from Grimwood. Meanwhile, Tri-Blast and the Hot Slap from Alistair once again. So, another big heavy hitter. And obviously these, if you thought Max Brass and Kid Cobra's grabs did a lot of damage, the grabs from Mummy is going to be off the page. And Alistair already being choked down by the Mummy. Caught again by another Popper hit. And Grimwood is not giving Coil a chance. I mean, yes, it's DNA Lab. Yes, it's incredibly open. And Alistair can utilize this space for much bigger movement opportunities for Coil. But well, Grimwood was able to keep them level quite nicely, but unfortunately left themselves wide open to 360 damage. Pops Grimwood straight into critical, and how quickly Alistair is able to turn that around. But now forced into the corner by the hands of that Popper. You just see Alistair struggling to really get out of there, and caught with the juggle, and Grimwood is not going to pass up an opportunity to KO from there. And just like that, Grimwood straight back into this match. And that's exactly why they still pick stages like this, because if they can corner Coil, she can't really get out from there. The Popper covers so much, and obviously they've got the nade on the back foot just in case, and obviously Mummy's ability to heal themselves back up with the shield. So it does give them a good number of opportunities, but this is also Alistair and Coil we're talking about, still coming in with 375. And it's still a lot of work for Mummy to do to keep this damage under control and keep Coil grounded. Another hot slap comes through, and another little 10 sliver of health. Just see it every now and then from Grimwood, but another hot slap. It's those charged up curved arm hits that Grimwood has to be so wary of. They do have Rush ready to go, but they are on the cusp of critical, and Alistair senses an opportunity to go in for the kill, and does so. And with that, Alistair ties this matchup, but crucially is on set point. And in comes the heavy hitter. It's the Megawatt, one of the bigger arms in this game. It has a shot capacity as well, but it's going to be Alistair who is not afraid of it. Gets in with another grab. Does have those nades and the slaps to go around it, so it's really the case of what can hit first, the Popper or the slaps in this regard. The Megawatt just about clips Alistair, and that is going to be a juggle for 320, so Grimwood puts themselves right back into contention, but they've got to be so careful. That big hitbox of Mummy and those hot slaps, especially when there's 2 of them on the side, it's still a little bit tricky to get away from, and they try to get as much distance away from them as possible, but they couldn't quite get there. Mummy not the fastest character in the game, naturally, and that was another 370 damage that Alistair just deployed onto Grimwood. And another long-range grab to boot sends Grimwood on the cusp of critical. They don't have much left in the tank. They've almost got a rush up, ready to go. And there it is. Another big-time burial ground. 205 damage. That's how severely impressive those grabs are for Mummies. But now that they're into critical, and both will come out with the rush. But it is going to be the KO on the side of Coil. The Popper can't do much. The Megawatt can be zippy, but it's the slap that gets there first. And just like that, Alistair and Coil Alistair and Coyle in the PR Invitational is in the grand final. Well, I don't know about you, but that is an impressive showing right there. Alistair 3, Grimwood 0, and Alistair, who has never won a Challenge Cup, could be on the verge of winning the PR Invitational. How massive would that be if it were to happen? So, back on over to the bracket. We do have updates from the Underground segment, and those updates are as follows. I'm just going to quickly grab a refresh just to keep you up onto track. We'll get an overlay update in just a moment. Replicant has knocked out Riffer. You have heard that right. The number 1 seed. The man who keeps on winning. The Riffer Revolution himself is out. He doesn't even make top 4. Replicant 2. Riffer 1. And Elementor's amazing run also comes to an end. They could not get past Iceman, losing by 2 points to 0. So, the top 4 have been locked in for you. Alistair in Grand Finals, Grimwood in the Underground Final, and fighting to make it onto that final podium position, we've got the number 2 seed Iceman versus the number 7 seed Replicant. And we saw Replicant get the better of Iceman in the first matchup. It's another best of 3 that's coming on in. So, we'll see where this goes. And Alamento, if you're going to say, I only won 1 set, you took Alistair to a match 3 and it was a very close set, so you still had an amazing showing. I will not hear a single word of it. You did very well, and also you knocked out Riffer. I feel like, lag or no lag, you still knocked Riffer out and took the fight to Alistair. It was still a good showing and we all saw it, so you shush. You definitely are on the right track, and I cannot wait to see what you do in the next Challenge Cup. But it does mean that we are now going to gear ourselves up for Underground Round 3, which is Underground Semi-Final. Cool. Always good to hear a communication error. I guess it wouldn't be. Yes, it wouldn't. I mean, to be fair, we haven't had any debates yet so far in this tournament, so we'll hope we can keep that going a little while longer. But yeah, we are just gonna get our names up to date. We are gonna get the lobbies relatively up. It should be Iceman on the left, I hope. So far, I've gotten each of these wrong so far and having to just adapt them on the fly, but we should be good this time around. At least I hope we do. And Replicant should be on the right-hand side, so. That is correct, and that is correct. So our side of things are all now set up and ready to go. We are going back to best of 3s for the time being, and the stage bands are coming on up. Do remember that they are fighting for a prize pool, which currently sits at $25. If you do want to help on out with that, I'd always appreciate it. Type in exclamation prize pot. You can see where it currently stands, and it will also give you information as to how you can contribute to the pool as well. Remember, it's going to be a lot of fun, and they're all doing incredibly well so far. Remember that to win any slice of the prize pot, it needs to be a top 3 finish. So we already know that both Alistair and Grimwood are guaranteed to be getting some of that prize pool. The first place gets 60%, the second place gets 30%, and third gets 10%. So this match literally comes down to who will be getting that matchup. And bearing in mind, I've only just realised that the top 4 are all Brits. 4 Brits in the top 8 for Europe. Yeah, well done Britain. We've done incredibly well today, haven't we? So, Iceman will be on the left-hand side. It's going to be a Lollipop Ditto. Popper and Scorpio for Iceman on the left. Meanwhile, Replicant come in with the Hydra and the Coolerang. So, both of these individuals coming out onto DNA Labs, pretty much starting where we left off in the previous set. And remember, Replicant did win out 2 points to 0 in their initial encounter. We can see if Replicant could do it again, it would be pretty impressive if they ended up doing so, because it would mean that the top 2 seeds would be out of this competition, and that would be a massive surprise. And so far, Iceman just using the tubes of the DNA Lab, just an extra shield, just to give themselves a little bit of extra time. They do have that Popper, and do catch out Replicant with that initial hit, but immediately snapping back with the Hydra, and obviously it does so much damage just charged up in that fiery command of the Scorpio again. Just like with the Chucks, have 2 different ways of attacking, and naturally the ground is just scuttling along like a scorpion, because that's what they do. And obviously you get to see the frisbee side of things, and immediately Replicant bounces straight on in with a rush, gets a decent amount of damage, not as much as they'd like to, but it's still damage, and with 30 seconds left to go, they'll take anything that they can get, including another charged up Hydra. Now it's Iceman's turn to come on the offensive, but again, both of them, because they go for these juggle-esque setups, they couldn't really get the second pick for their rush, and it does mean that Replicant can get away with that, and with 10 seconds left on the clock, is leading for the time being, and Iceman knows they have to come on the offensive, but another hit like that, and another Hydra as well, makes absolutely certain that this one is gonna go the way of Replicant. So, between our 2 springy clowns, it is going to be Replicant who takes the initiative. Now going to come in with the nade and the Coolerang, and another tube is going to bite dust very quickly. And Iceman also going to drop the Scorpio, comes out with the Burchuck to try and stall out and slow, but guess who is going to get the shot first? It's going to be Replicant, who fires in with the chill, and then the rush as well. 375. Very good purchase, but does get closed down by the Popper, and they know full well that Iceman has theirs to go too. So it's going to be one of those things where they just fling out these arms and just hope that the Coolerang can find its way around before that Popper can do any serious damage. And the closer they get to Iceman, the more they know that rush is probably going to come out. The nade again just doesn't quite make it before the Popper can, and that's why it's always so risky to play against it. Yes, it can be punched out by anything you have, but also if it hits you before you even react to it, it's not gonna matter. But so too is that rush, because the AoE explosion from the nade is gonna peg Iceman right back down, and Replicant with the rush is gonna immediately cave in, and that is Replicant's point again. They lead by 1 point to 0. Can Replicant do this? Can Replicant take out the number 2 seed in this competition, that is Iceman? It would be a pretty big surprise there, but we will soon see. And it would be a pretty historic moment, because it would mean that the top 3 would look vastly different than I think some people might have initially predicted. But so far, it is going. It is going Replicant's way, and yes, just to remind you all, this is a best of 3 match. It's the last best of 3 set before this is done and dusted. The bans are coming up again. Sparring and Via are out of here. We are gonna go to Mausoleum. Now, will Iceman decide to human Replicant again and go for the Lola Ditto, or are we going to see Iceman bring back the Ribbon Girl, for example? It's going to be Min, not Ribbon, but Replicant naturally not going to switch from the Lola. So, Tri-Bolt, Sparky, and Ice Dragon. We know what Min Min likes to utilize at this point, but Iceman not going to bring the Sparky. It is going to be the Tri-Bolt on the Dragon arm with the Dragon on the right-hand side. Don't get confused, my friends. And it is going to be the bolts that find the first blow against Replicant, and so too does the Dragon. It always excels at the longer range, so Iceman won't mind sticking around the walls too much, but also you know that Replicant will try to just shut out Iceman at every possible opportunity, especially with the explosion of that nade, which worked so well in the previous match. Another little snipe from the Dragon, but thankfully not charged, so Replicant won't mind it too much. Both with Rush already set to go, and look at how much damage the middle platform was already taken. Trampoline might be coming out sooner than you might think. Dragon hit going to be nowhere near this time around, but it is going to get used to at least disarm the nade for the time being, or at least stop the explosion from taking too much of an effect. Another hit with the Dragon, just going to chain that down, and again Lola has that wonderful ability to just waddle on through with the shield up. Not many other characters have that kind of perk, and another explosion does catch Iceman off guard, and Replicant's gonna go for this, gonna go with the rush despite being into critical first, and gets a hit on the way down. Now Iceman has a tricky situation here. They know that they can still win this because it's still a very close game, but knowing full well that anything would probably deal enough damage to take Iceman out of contention here, so they have to be so careful. The nade just about missing the Coolerang! The clutchest of Coolerangs! And just like that, Replicant's decision to go for that rush early on, very inspired indeed. And they are on match point here against Iceman, who will start with rush ready to go. And again, clipped by the Coolerang, jumping straight down into not one, but two charged up Tri-Bolt hits. Now that it is charged up on the Dragon arm, that's always going to be that little bit more scary, which is why you see Replicant trying to land these Hydra hits, but comes in with the rush. Iceman committed too much, and 355 damage wrestles that straight away from them, and clipped by the Coolerang as well. That's the last thing that they needed. They get at least one charge back and gets the grab as well, and it should give them enough opportunity to keep those bolts alive. And Replicant knows full well that staying on this wall is not going to help them in the slightest, but Iceman wants to get them into a position where they can come in with that rush and KO, and especially the Dragon rush is always scary, does so much damage, but again, clipped out by the Hydra, but that surely should do it. 330 damage, and it swings it straight back the other way. It is still set point for Replicant, but they know full well they cannot allow that Dragon to get carried away, and especially those Tri-Bolts. Lands a direct nade hit, which is exactly what they needed, and the Tri-Bolt again gonna force the trampoline to break. So who will be able to take advantage of this situation here? You feel like if Iceman can keep the range from themselves to Lola, they may yet take this, but the Tri-Bolt of all things is gonna catch Replicant with the stun, and no rush for you, my friend. Both of them taking their own time on the trampoline, and now Iceman gonna commit forward, caught out in midair by the nade. Both on very similar healths here. It could really go either way, and Iceman is not wanting to give this up anytime soon. Another successful bolt hit, and the Dragon clips in as well, and it's Iceman with the rush just waiting for their opportune moment. They do get Replicant into critical, which is crucial in and of itself, but Iceman knows full well the Rep will have rush ready to go in just a moment, and they have got to survive this entire onslaught, and both go for the rush, but it's Iceman who wins it out. Iceman gets a celebratory bounce on the trampoline, and Iceman is not going to want a second upset in a row. They do tie this set up by one apiece. You feel like Replicant again, just the Dragon caught up to them and immediately stopped them. They must have thought that the rush would have been able to get to them in time, but the Dragon again, it just adjusted well enough to come back in, clip them where they were, and that will be that. And it's going to be Mausoleum again for Replicants, so I wonder if they're going to have a different strategy in mind coming in here, if they want to upset the balance, if they want that historic moment. Because you know full well if both Riffer and Iceman drop, it's literally anyone's game. Iceman back in with Min Min, Replicant back in with Lola. The last best of 3 of the day is going to see a missile in that back pocket if Lola wants to bring it to the table. And it's going to be tri-bolt on both sides of the field. One for a dragon, one for a missile. Both are coming in with big time rush damage on the cards. So for Iceman, if they can keep Replicant at bay and keep that dragon arm charged up for the tri-bolt, they will keep control of this match. But you know full well to never underestimate the AoE explosion that missile can bring to the thable. Arm weak on the left hand side, but so far it's all control from Iceman. They're able to slow this down and just keep Replicant at bay, which is why I thought it was an interesting decision for Replicant to bring us back to Mausoleum. I thought they might shake things up just a little bit more, but they do manage to get a bolt stun again. But Iceman will keep hold of the dragon arm as well. And it is Iceman with the health lead with 50 seconds left on the clock. It is going to be Rush coming on out and big time damage. 375 couldn't quite get the second explosion. And that is how quickly it can turn with the missile as your arm for the Rush. Is so much damage coming up on the cards. But Iceman keeps that health lead for the time being. Tries to get another catch in with the dragon. The bolts at least are being incredibly consistent as we've seen all tournaments so far. But again, Replicant not giving it up anytime soon. They know full well. Oh, they do get the bolt, but the dragon came off just in the nick of time. That is unfortunate for Replicant. They did actually get the bolt hit that would have taken Iceman down. But somehow the dragon gets it. And it's set point for Iceman now. And another successful 1-2 here. And you feel like the momentum has definitely swung onto Iceman's favor. Replicant is losing it bit by bit here, and another shield repel from the dragon. They've got it all to do here, and it's going to be the Rush coming out, but it's another punish. It's another punish from that nade, and another successful confirm from Iceman. And that looks like it could be that. Replicant is not going to give this up anytime soon, but their health lead is massive. And another successful tri-bolt stun is going to put Replicant into critical position. And another 1-2 chain means that one more hit will do it indeed for Replicant. They have to be so careful. Anything, a graze from one of those bolts will be all that it will take to take Replicant out of this matchup. And they know that. They have to commit to all of this explosive goodness. The bolts aren't going to reach on this occasion, and Iceman has the switch to end this now. They have Rush, so too does Replicant, and they know full well that a Rush from that will definitely be curtains, and they are going to commit to it, but it's not going to happen. It's just going to be the shield and nothing more than that. That was Replicant's get out of jail free, and they don't get any purchase on it whatsoever. Iceman comes out with their Rush now and brings Replicant down to 1 health. The tri-bolt will land, and it is Replicant who will not make it to top 3. Iceman turns it around. They get their revenge, and they win this set by 2 points to 1. Well, nothing that could be done there. Replicant gave it everything he could. He was able to surprise Iceman in the above bracket, but in the underground bracket, unfortunately, Mausoleum is where it all ended for them, and it will be Iceman who will be progressing onwards into the underground final. So it will read like this. It will be Alistair waiting in grand finals for the winner of this upcoming best of 5 match. It's best of 5s from here on out, and it will be Grimwood to take on Iceman. There we go. That is how the tournament currently stands at this point in time. Both of our combatants are ready to go. Grimwood will be coming in with the coil. So taking a page out of Alice's book, we are going to see a coil coming on out against Iceman's Min Min. Remember, we are in best of 5 territory from here on out. This is the top 3 fighting for the prize pool. This will determine who gets 10% of the cut and who will try to fight it on out in the Invitational final themselves. Iceman coming in with what is essentially double toaster, so one will be perma-charged up for as long as they can do. Meanwhile, Grimwood comes in with what is essentially triple nade, and will be doing everything in their power to keep Iceman on the floor, and no Dragon Arm for you. And so far, the explosion absolutely going their way, just walling Iceman out with every single hit they go for. Iceman finally gets a little bit of a tag. Remember, as long as it lands as a charged toaster hit, it will immediately drop coil straight down onto the floor. And just see how quickly Grimwood gets straight back into position, and the rush is going to hit, but Grimwood's own engines got the better of them there, completely took them out of rush angle and gave the advantage back to Iceman. Grimwood did not like that in the slightest, and unfortunately they're going to see their health lead drop significantly from that exchange, and that puts them almost level with Iceman. So having been in control for most of that, suddenly that turned right on its head. 30 seconds left on the clock. The nades are doing a lot of work, but it's Grimwood who finds themselves into critical first. Another set of explosions, but another successful hit from that toaster, and it's going to give the point straight to Iceman. Yeah, Grimwood will not have liked that exchange at all. Their own engines got the better of them. At least Iceman does not get this rush this time round, and it gives Grimwood a chance to get right back into things. It's going to be Ram and Hydra for them now, so that's a lot of fiery damage coming on out, and 360 just juggles Iceman in the air, and obviously 2 curved arms of the Ram and that Hydra to boot. It also means that the second Iceman gets an opportunity to get that Dragon Arm up, it's going to be essentially undone as long as one hit can land. And look at how aggressive Grimwood's being, not giving Iceman a chance to even get anything going here. They've got rushed straight back up. Iceman isn't even halfway up on it. Somehow none of the Rams managed to find their way onto Iceman's backside, and Grimwood is just biding their time, waiting for another successful hit, comes straight back on the offensive, and Iceman is just taking so much chip damage. They do manage to get the Dragon Armor, but one more hit from Grimwood is all they need to at least tie this right back on up. But again, they cannot afford to get carried away or complacent. They cannot. They're just unfortunate here. Their accuracy is all over the place now. They've done the hard part. They took the lead by quite some distance, but we saw how quickly it turned on its head earlier, and Iceman is just being such a hard target to hit, but finally the Hydras find their way through. So, one apiece, both with rush ready to go. We've got the Ram coming on in for Iceman now as well, and kind of needed to, considering the fact that that was really starting to run rampant over them in that previous point. But it's really going to be a case of who is going to blink first in terms of this rush, and it is going to be Grimwood who goes for it, but Iceman went for it as well, so Grimwood chooses the better part of it, just takes the chip damage for the time being. Both arms weak as well from that pressure, but crucially, neither player going down, and it's going to be the Shack Ram that finally starts to bring the pressure back towards Iceman. Another explosion from the nade, make that 2 explosions from the nade, catching Iceman off guard, and look at how consistent Grimwood has been, and look how quickly they've charged the rush up. Iceman hasn't even gotten halfway through this, and as a result, Grimwood just gets to rush through uncontested, and because Iceman was so close, they were never going to be able to punish that properly. Iceman drops into critical condition. Grimwood is just flinging out nade after nade. And finally, Iceman slows it down a little bit, gets another successful hit with the Ram and the grab as well. Really throwing caution to the wind here and not allowing Grimwood to charge up anything else. And another wayward punch here is going to keep Iceman off guard, and they know full well that they've got to be so careful, especially playing this aggressive. Rush will come out and do big time damage, 310. It means both are now in critical, and Grimwood has Rush, and they're going to go for it immediately. This should break shield. It does break shield, and that, as a result, is the KO, and the point will start on the side of Grimwood. Grimwood can breathe a sigh of relief there. Iceman was really just flinging it all at the wall towards the end there, but just gets the rush up in the nick of time. And I think Iceman knew the second that shield came up and the weakness came up, that was the invitation for Grimwood to just keep on going, break the shield, and tag that KO. So, just like that, we are going to see ourselves pop straight back to Mausoleum. And straight back into what is going to be a very incredible set. So, Iceman on the left-hand side of your screen going to come back with Ribbon Girl. So Min Min is done and dusted for the time being. It's all about Ribbon and trying to outmaneuver Dr. Coil and keep them at bay and make themselves just as much of a hard target to hit. But remember that Hydra and Coolerang, they're kind of designed to try and wall out characters like Ribbon as well. And especially with the fact that you can get a third arm of either of them, it's not going to be easy for Iceman to dodge all around this as well. And the engine tries to catch back up with Iceman, but crucially it is going to be Ribbon who gets the better of that exchange, gets the shield up, and tries to go for the punish, but the Coolerang says, not today, thank you. And the Hydra immediately follows on in, and this is what you have to be so careful with. If Grimwood can get these reads, and they're doing exactly that, they're just keeping Ribbon Girl grounded. And if anything, Iceman was getting the better purchases with Min Min rather than Ribbon here. Another successful chain, and somehow that did not result in a juggle there. I thought it would have done with 2 successful ice chains, but I mean, it really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things because Iceman is already a hit away from going down. The Hydra just whiffing, but the Coolerang most certainly doesn't need another invitation, and that is also going to break the platform as well. So trampoline will be up. We know Grimwood won't give a damn about the trampoline because this is Coil, and Coil laughs in the face of trampolines. Don't tell Donna I said that one. And Iceman gonna get caught with another Coolerang hit. And the bolts are gonna fly on through. It's a very explosive setup that Iceman is going for. The Triblast and the Seeky. So trying to land big damage with the rush and at least get themselves a purchase back in. But again, when you just see all of those vertical fiery bolts coming at you, it's quite intimidating to deal with. Another missile just shy of the mark. So far, Iceman just can't seem to get a proper purchase on this match, especially from range. Like I said, Grimwood really doesn't mind the fact that the trampoline there because this is Coil. Coil just consistently in the air, and there's nothing really Iceman can do about it unless they can get these Tri-Blast hits to at least explode them out. Both will go for the rush, but it is going to be a knockback on Iceman. That was unfortunate. I think they both got a hit in, but crucially the Seeky exploded in Iceman's face and completely took that away from them. 35 seconds on the clock. Iceman on the cusp of critical. Just about avoided the Hydra, but again it's the Coolerang that comes swirling on in and gives the advantage straight back to Grimwood. Another trade, but it's Grimwood with rush, and they won't even need it because it's another hit from the trampoline, and that is why you never play Coil on this stage. It's 2-0 for Grimwood. Grimwood absolutely looking to throw caution to the wind. We saw Replicant almost do it in the previous set. We now have Grimwood 2-0 up in what is our second best of 5 of the day. And Iceman knows it's all or nothing now. Remember that Alistair does await in the finals. Remember that you can still contribute to the prize pool that these 3 are fighting over at this point in time by typing exclamation prize pool in the chat for the 3rd time in a row. We are going back to Mausoleum. It's back to Min Min for Iceman, and Coil will continue to reign with the Coolerang and the Hydra, or are they? It's going to be a switch out to the Roaster, and Min Min's coming out with a Tribolt and the Parasol, so a stun and some wind, and we know how quick the Parasol can be as well, so let's see if Min Min can make this combination work, and so far it's doing its job. It get another Tribolt hit, make that another and suddenly Iceman is turning this fight on its head. They're coming out with a different strategy, and so far it is working because Grimwood is already on the cusp of critical, and Iceman has came to play now, and that is not going to be quite a KO. In fact, it's not quite a perfect either, but Iceman absolutely dominating here. They've been biding their time, they've been waiting for a moment like this, and Grimwood knows full well that Iceman has the potential to shut this down, and another rush is going to come their way. 380, make that 405 essentially with that last little 20 tags. And look how quickly this match could change. Grimwood suddenly going, okay, I know what you're doing. I am now not going to give you a second to even think about doing that again. And pinning Min Min against the wall, but now the Tribolt arm is up, gets another stun, but that second follow-up was just a little too high. They at least do still have it charged up and ready to go, and both with the rush as well, but the Power Soul not gonna get any purchase there. The rush does not hit on Iceman, so they actually do keep the Dragon Arm, and another Coolerang is gonna find its way through, but the arm is down! The arm is down, but they can't punish! Grimwood can't get the punish, and Iceman somehow remains standing with rush to go, and Grimwood into critical, but just gets the shield up, and Grimwood had to get out of there. Their arm was weak. They do have rush of their own. What will Iceman decide to do here? They just need one more hit, and they know that. Grimwood comes in, has to pause a little bit. Both arms weak here, and Grimwood knows one more hit will do it, and it's the Parasol that hits. Grimwood nearly took it right back from them, but it's Iceman who comes in with a 2-0 win there. And don't you dare tell me a reverse sweep is going to be happening here. It's 2-1. Coming in with a completely different tactic, and it paid off for them. It took Grimwood, I mean, we saw the entire first point. It was just full-on domination from Iceman. And then as that second point went on, Grimwood had the moment. They had that momentum to go against the other way. And now we're going to see a completely different matchup, because now it's Grimwood's turn to pick the stage we go to. And on top of that, they have turned around and gone, no more coil. Deal with my Cobra now. Clapback and Popper for Grimwood as we go into Sparring Ring, Tribolt and Parasol. And will this still play in Iceman's favor? Well, they got the initial stun with the bolt, but couldn't get the grab follow-up, which is always a bit of a surprise. And Grimwood quickly knocks them back down. A very tentative start from both sides of the field, and you know how devastating that clapback can be, but we also know how devastating the Popper can be. Forcing Iceman into that corner, and Grimwood coming in for another little bite of the cherry. Gets it in with the Popper again, and suddenly Iceman is on the back foot. Finally does get the Tribolt arm charged up and ready to go. Both now with rush as well. You know full well Iceman will probably deploy theirs, but it's the clapback that just cancels the entire thing. Shoved straight into Iceman's face, who now finds themselves on the cusp of critical, and that clapback, it's always so devastating. You see how quickly the Power Sword comes right back at them. One more hit is all Grimwood is looking for to take this set into a set point territory for them, and it is going to be the Popper that finds it. That big old Popper, slightly buffed out because that is just one of Cobra's perks, and it is set point. The Seeky is now going to come out, and that's a very dangerous tool to be bringing to this fight in particular, especially with that clapback on the field. It can easily backfire on Iceman, so he's going to have to be so careful here. Grimwood again, just keeping airborne, just sliding around with Cobra, both with rush ready to go, and the Tribolts are going to be up into their permacharged buff state. But Iceman can't get any proper purchase on it, and again it just keeps being repelled by the clapback, but the missile comes in, 360 damage. It does peg Grimwood back down a little notch, but again the Popper quickly takes that arm out of contention, and it is going to be a rush coming in. Will we break the shield here? We do break the shield. Just a little bit of damage towards the end of that. It does help Iceman charge rush up a little bit, and another successful waiting out with that Tribolt stuns its way through. Grimwood into critical with that move as well. And Iceman is coming right back into things here. The clapback is not working out as well as Grimwood would like to, and Iceman does have Rush ready to go. The Seeky just bouncing off it once again, and that will be a stun into a 1-2 hit, and Iceman, well, it's still set point for Grimwood, but crucially, they're back into this, and Grimwood says, alright, clapback gone, we've got the Butcher. He immediately flies on in with the popper, gets the hit on Iceman. Iceman quickly returns the favor, both with Rush ready to go, and Grimwood just about slides out of way of that. Dodges the AoE of the Seeky. Always crucial that you do that because so many people get caught out with that. And again, another triple hit coming on in. Gets the stun hit as well. Grimwood knows they have to bide their time. Gets another hit with the popper. Chooses when to go in and gets the big time grab as well. 170 damage. And that's how quickly it could turn around. And that is why Grimwood wants to try and just keep as much... keep as close to Iceman as possible. But again, it's going to be another shield up for Iceman, who is now going to start chaining just up a little bit more. They've got the Rush ready to go. That Seeky is always so scary, but another good 1-2 hit. That popper and Virtua combination is still so good. And again, another Rush not going to land. This match really has been a tale of two stories. Another triple hit, but it's Iceman who is in the more precarious position. Rush comes out, but it's not going to be enough. It will deal a lot of damage, put so much pressure on both arms, and Grimwood knows this pressure they need to take advantage of, but they can't because Iceman is almost dead, but the popper hits! The popper hits! And Grimwood will knock Iceman out. It is 3 points to 1 in Underground Final. Grimwood crucially gets the better of Iceman. It will not be the top 2 seeds winning this competition. River drops out early and Iceman can't make it into Grands. And with that, everything changes. Because now, this is what we're looking at. We go from that to this. A 3-1 set where Iceman potentially, slowly but surely, was knocking on that door at that reverse sweep potential. But it's not gonna happen this time around. Grimwood just able to hang on in there. The Cobra gets the better of the Min Min. And it means your grand final for the 5th PR Invitational will be between 7-time Cup winner Grimwood versus Alistair, who has never won a Challenge Cup. I can't begin to tell you how high these stakes are. For Grimwood to win this Invitational, he will have to beat Alistair in not just one best of 5 set, but 2 best of 5 sets. For Alistair to win, all they have to do is beat Grimwood in 1 best of 5 set. I'm telling you right now, this is going to be huge. No matter how you slice this, this has the potential to be a massive moment here. Grimwood is the number 3 seed, and like I said, they know what it's like to win in these EU ARMS events. They've won 7 of the EU ARMS Challenge Cup. Alistair is seeded 4. They've managed to book their ticket in here by beating Grimwood 3-0 in Winners Final. They've made it to Grand Finals once in the Challenge Cup and finished runner-up. They've never won this. They've never won a cup here at the EU ARMS channel. to win the Invitational? To say that would send shockwaves through the scene would be an understatement. It is all to play for. And both of our players are just going to have a quick breather, so I think we are as well. When we come back, the grand final for the 5th EU ARMS PR Invitational. Do not go away, my friends. Well, if you are going to go away, recharge your drinks and then come back. See you in a moment. And my friends, we are back. It looks like both of our fighters are ready to get this underway. Grand finals will be coming up in just one moment. It will be Grimwood making their journey up from the underground bracket versus Alistair, who made it here via the winners round, taking out Yam in the initial round match, taking out Alimento 2-1, and then Grimwood themselves by 3 points to 0. So Grimwood should be on the left-hand side of your screen, I would hope, and Alistair will be on the right. It is an all-British Grand Final. It feels like that's the first time I think I've ever said that for the PR Invitational. That just goes to show how rare of a sight this is. No Riffer here. Riffer went out in Underground Round 2 at the hands of Replicant, who then went out to Iceman, who then went out to Grimwood. It's been an odd little bit of a trend today, it really has. But it is not going to be the top 2 seeds battling out. It is seeded number 3 of Grimwood and seeded number 4 of Alistair. Remember, there is a prize pot if you are wanting to contribute to it and give them even more of an incentive to play for. There is that as well. But this is going to be it. The Grand Final is about to be on the way. Grimwood on the left-hand side of your screen as Twintel. On the right-hand side of your screen is Alistair as Dr. Coil. It's going to be the Chiller and Roaster versus the Nade and the hottest of slaps. And it is going to be Alistair who gets the initial damage on the side. And you know how quickly Coil will charge up those rushes, so it's going to be an all-out flurry from them. Twintel, obviously with that Actress Aura, can slow down things that are coming directly towards them, gives them that little extra time to think about what they want to do next, and they do get the shield up to protect themselves, but the arm is going to go down on the left-hand side thanks to the pressure that rush did deploy onto them. And whilst it wasn't as much damage as they'd have liked to have had, Alistair will at least take solace in the fact that he gets something out of it. And again, another 1-2 flurry coming in with that nade. Coil's ability to just have that third arm at their disposal is just helping them beautifully. But Grimwood is going to find an opportunity, spots a moment where Alistair was at their weakest and catches them with the rush. Brings that health lead just a little bit further down, and Alistair has a rush of their own ready to deploy it once again, and it's again another wayward nade hit that catches Twintel by surprise, but that Roaster going to come in hot and fast. Now give Alistair a chance to breathe, and again Grimwood gets another successful read with that rush. Another shield welcomes the oncoming traffic that is Alistair's rush, and both of them at similar healths here, but it's Alistair crucially with their health lead, but no longer, because that grab is going to take it right away from them, and Grimwood will seal that right at the end. They closed the gap onto Coil, and Alistair could not react quick enough. And just like that, Grimwood yoinks that first point right from underneath Coil's nose. And they are not going to be happy about that, nor will they be happy about overcommitting there as well, as Grimwood takes full advantage of that start rush and gives themselves the advantage and their health lead at the start of this second point. Alistair finally with a rush up to speed. They've got that Funchuck on the left-hand side of the arm, so we'll see if they can bring this to potential. And third time's the charm for the rush. They at least manage to find their way through and lands on in with the nade, gives that little bit extra damage, and finally starts to get themselves back into the rhythm of this matchup. Again, Grimwood just being that little bit difficult to hit here, and obviously the Actress Aura really helping them with just that little bit more, especially into slowing down, but unfortunately did not get that deployed in time. Nade straight to the face, and Alistair now starting to take control, but commits with the grab, thankfully just a bit far enough back to get away from that rush coming on up, and Alistair comes on out immediately with theirs, but to no prevail, so both not going to get anything with the rush, but crucially it's Grimwood who walls on out with another volley of nades. Just under 30 seconds to go, and that is why it's always so scary when Alistair decides to triple commit with their arms, because especially if it's two nades coming at you, it's always super scary. But again, Grimwood saving the grabs for the last 10 seconds again, but not gonna get anything from it this time. With a straight up nade to the crotch, and that ties this matchup one apiece. So who is going to take this first set point? Grimwood does have rush ready to go and comes in with the Chiller and the Roaster. Obviously Alistair with that invisibility on the knockdown will at least manage to come back up, and it's up to a guessing game, a bit of chance for Grimwood to try and punish from that, but unfortunately gets punished themselves. The rush will indeed do big time damage. Grimwood has yet to deploy theirs, and unfortunately won't get the chance to do so because once again today we see the nade interrupt that rush, and Twintel is practically throwing in the towel here. It looks like that's exactly what's happening. A grab will come in for the close, and Alistair will take the point.
Back to the lab.
And it looks like we are going to have our first VAR check of the night. It's taken us all the way to the grand final for something to go wrong, and it is going to be a check against Alistair by the looks of it. Grimwood is reporting lag issues, so we are going to just stall this one out. So I don't think Alistair will be taking this point. So yeah, looks like clips will be coming on in. So I won't change, I will not update the number until we know for certain that this is indeed what will be happening. Grimwood is going to be backing on out and will be sending in clips onto the Discord. So we'll have to just wait for that one. In the meantime, takeaways from that matchup, Alistair definitely not giving Grimwood the chance to really get back into things in that final point, especially towards the end. But if that has anything to do with the lag that we have in place, then that may explain why it started to suddenly turn the other way. But a good showing from both of these so far. Grimwood definitely adapted to everything that Alistair has. Obviously, we've seen how Alistair has performed throughout this entire tournament, and they've definitely been very much akin to using Coil at this point, and definitely bringing that fight to the masses, to the likes of Riffer and co. So it's good to see them in the grand final, but Grimwood not going to have anything of it. And remember, in the circumstance that this is indeed going to go against Alistair and we are going to have to reset this point, the rules are going to be as follows. Both participants will lock in with their respective fighter, and on top of that, they can't change their arms either. So it will continue to be Twintel versus Coil. They'll keep the 3 arms that they brought into that as well. Crucially, they are allowed to switch up the arms to start off from their matches. So, you know, as long as it's the same 3 arms that they brought to the fight in the first place, they can still start with any other combination. They don't have to play the fight with the same arm combinations, but it just has to be the same starting 3 that they brought. We are just waiting on further information from Stream Arena. It also gives me just a quick moment to refresh the match arena to see if anything else has come through yet. It is still going to be fighting over $25. Do remember that second place will get 30% of that cut, and 60% will go to whoever wins. Again, just hoping for more information very soon. Remember, if you want to see what else is happening around here, there are other events running for ARMS, not just here in the EU, but for NA as well. So do keep an eye on social media for a variety of things. We here at EU_ARMS will try to promote what we can. Obviously, our focus is still very much on the events that we have at our disposal as well, which include the EU ARMS Challenge Cup. I do believe that will probably be back on for for next week. I was going to say it's not tomorrow. If the PR Invitational is running one weekend, the Challenge Cup will obviously not be running on the same weekend, because that would just be ludicrous. Nobody wants to do that much fighting in back-to-back days. So I do believe the next Challenge Cup will probably be next Sunday, and those times are generally at 2 PM GMT. I say that now full well that saving times will only be a couple months away, and then we'll have to reavert it all once again. Yay for saving times. You get the general idea. That's just how it goes. But yeah, hopefully everybody has been having a relatively good time so far. It has been a lot of fun. We'll just remind you where we currently are with the bracket. For those of you who are just joining us, it's been all over the place today. Alimento taking Riffa out in that first round. That is one of the big moments of this competition, and very much taking the fight to Alistair in that semi-final match as well. Could have been a very different winners final if that had gone down, but it did go Alistair's way in the end. Alistair having that bye against Yam in the second match. Iceman and Replicant. Rep beaten out Iceman 2-0, but could not replicate it. Haha, funny joke. In the underground semi-final, where Iceman was able to best them 2-1, but Replicant doing everything in their power to stop Iceman from getting into that top 3 position. But having said that, they also did manage to beat Riffa as well, which is why you see Riffa just out of contention early on. It's very weird to see Riffa dropping out in Underground Round 2, but that is just how it happens. All of these players have been improving every sense of the word. And we even had Raziel in there as well, unfortunately losing out by 2-0 in the end against Grimwood, who has managed to make it all the way back here into Grand Finals so far. So, yeah, it's been an... yeah, out of the 8 players, half of them were Brits: Alistair, Iceman, Replicant, and Grimwood, and all 4 of them cover the top 4 of this Invitational, which is a first, I do believe. I don't think that's ever happened before in the EU Invitational scene. So whatever happens, a Brit will be on all steps of the podium and also in 4th, which just feels weird saying that. But hey, that's just how it be, and I guess it also makes sense then, I guess, to have a British girl commentate the action. So, everyone's a Brit. No, not everyone's a Brit. That's definitely not true. So, we have the VAR check done and dusted, and it will be a reset. So that point will not count for Alistair. It will be back to square one. And so we are going to have to do that matchup all over again. So the best of 5 has not properly started then. So, both sides will be readying themselves up. And once that lobby is up, we will bring you the grand final for real this time. Put the T on and let's punch face. I mean, yeah. How do we play ARMS in the United Kingdom? Same way as you do, naturally. First we flex our arms, and then we get the tea bags. I have been handed a bit more responsibility because I will be the one to host the lobby this time around. So I'll just get this posted up. It feels weird doing this. It's been a long time since I've done this. I think it is still Mausoleum, which it absolutely is. And that is the code in there. So we're just gonna wait on both of our players to hop back on in. And once they are, the grand final will be underway. Remember, we still do have that prize pot to raise funds for them. And it will be Alistair in first, which means I'm going to have to adjust that answer. Yep, so Alistair came in first, so Alistair will now be on the left-hand side of your screen, and Grimwood will be on the right-hand side of your screen. So again, as a quick reminder for those coming on in, the way this works is both players will remain with their characters and the free arms that they brought to the dance with. They can still choose to start with a different combination if they want. But ultimately, it has to be the same free arms that they were locked in with previously. So, Grimwood set and ready to go with just Alistair to check on in, and it does so. So like I said, Alistair will be on the left-hand side of your screen now, whereas Grimwood will be on the right-hand side. Dr. Coil versus Twintel. And what combination are we going to see them come in with? It's going to be Nade and Funchuck versus Roaster and the Chiller. So naturally it was working out for Grimwood last time around, but immediately caught by the Funchuck. Another tag for that explosion, the self-destruct being forced onto them, and Grimwood knows full well that it's all about that accuracy, that pinpoint precision. If they can find their way to set off that nade before it does any damage to them, they'll absolutely take it. In fact, they're going to be the first one to get the rush charged up, but you know full well that the second Alistair has theirs, they are likely going to fling it out straight away, and does so. Glides on in for 315 damage, quickly knocking Grimwood straight up against the wall. And now it's going to come back the other way. Grush will come out and catches Alistair, who went for the grab, and is going to get caught out for it as a result. So we'll see if Alistair can keep this rush charge going and actually outspeed Grimwood, because so far Grimwood is not afraid to just throw these punches at all. In fact, it's given Alistair a lot to think about. And another grab opportunity foiled again by Grimwood and that Twintel, who again has the rush ready to go. And slowly but surely chipping away at that health lead. The both grenades are going to dash onto the left hand side. Rush will come out, chip damage and nothing more, and patiently waited their time for Alistair to stop and immediately rushed on in. And Alistair finds themselves in critical condition. 13 seconds left on the clock. Grimwood not going to have any of that grab. They are literally just sending each glove out the second it returns back, not giving Alistair a chance to do anything about it. And just like that, Grimwood has the initiative, much like how they did in the previous match that unfortunately did not go Alistair's way. Hot Slap is coming in for Alistair. They're going to change out just a little bit of their tactic, and actually does make it work. Gets the 1-2 hit in mid-air on Grimwood, but it's crucially Grimwood with the rush available. Unfortunately, not going to hit it this time around, just on the shield and nothing more than that. Whereas Alistair now has a chance to potentially fling things around a little bit more. Another Hot Slap finds their mark, having to really jolt on back a little bit there. Will burst through the Chiller, but again, no purchase whatsoever on that rush at all. Another double commitment, another explosion that just sweeps Grimwood off their feet. They immediately come in with a grab of their own. Not going to give up anything to Coil, standing precariously on that trampoline. A couple more hits down on that platform will definitely change the complexion of this match, but another grab keeps this under Grimwood's control and make that 2 grabs in a row. Very good read from Grimwood, catches Alistair off guard, who finally gets the slap, and there is the trampoline, and unfortunately Twintel recovered right on top of it. Last thing you want to do there. And this now gives Coil an opportunity, but Alistair's not going to hit it. Grimwood gets away with it. Scores with the Chill as well. Scores with the rush. That is 2-0. And Grimwood leads this set by 1-0.
Yeah. Delicious.
So after all of that waiting, after all of that time, it is going to be Grimwood who will start with the initiative, having Alistair taking it, but then having it disapproved thanks to the lag dispute. It now goes back the way of Grimwood, who now leads the set by 1-0. But remember, Grimwood has it all to do. They've got to win 2 best-of-5 sets in order to take Alistair out and deny them what would be a fairy tale story. So both of which are now going to focus on their starter stage and counter pick bans respectively. It's going to be Grimwood who will ban the first 2 stages, and we'll see if we end up returning to Mausoleum or if we're going to see a bit of a change of pace. It's going to be Scrapyard and Buster banned on the side of Grimwood, so Alistair will decide where we take Coil to. And the answer is going to be DNA Labs. So room for Coil to move around in, but we also know that Grimwood has the potential to use other characters here, and we know that Twintail worked pretty nicely as it was. That Roaster and Chiller combination really just tripping Alistair up and not really giving them a moment to get back into it, just flinging out boxing glove left, right and center. And Alistair is set and ready to go. So what will be the call here? It will be Twintail again. So Grimwood is definitely reliant on the fact that they've got a strategy in mind. They've got a way to thwart Alistair, but they need to keep this chain up. It will be Chiller Roaster once again. It will be Tri-Blast and Nade for Alistair. So all of the explosions and all of the gloves immediately just unrelentless from Grimwood, and this is pretty much the style that they're going for at the moment. They're just not afraid to swing out the gloves on either side of where Coil is and hope to catch Alistair off guard, but again, they cannot afford to keep being tagged by explosions, especially with the Tri-Blast on the display as well, and they added fact of the DNA tubes to give themselves that little bit of extra protection, but it works both ways, and it's going to be a self-destruct from Alistair. Just bounces the Tri-Blast off the tube, and inadvertently, right in their own face, it gives Grimwood an out. Whilst they don't get anything with their rush either, crucially, it gives them health lead. Another quick little stop from the box inside of things as we tick on down past the 50-second mark. Alistair is definitely struggling here. Whilst they have the room to be able to move around in, Twintail has this capability to just slow things down, and each glove that is going out is just contending something else for Alistair. And so far, waiting for Grimwood to double stretch there, waiting for the double commit to happen, and punishes with the rush. So, turns it back on its head. Grimwood on the cusp of critical. They do have rush to go, and they have been very consistent with their rushes as of late. So if they can find another moment to try and pop this down, they will try and do so. Alistair definitely thinking better of going in for that exchange, and now kind of just dancing around the tube for the time being. 8 seconds on the clock, having to deflect another one. They know full well if they get grabbed, it won't really matter too much because the health lead will remain in their favor, and with that, that will be the last play of that specific point. Alistair finally taking the initiative away. Can they find it in them to tie the set up? They're slowly but surely finding a workaround with Grimwood, and another commit with the explosions will just snip Grimwood for the time being. Another successful 1-2 jab as well with the bolts and the nades respectively. And again, it's always scary seeing 6 of those horizontal bolts coming out, but the rush will land square for Grimwood. 245 pops Alistair back down onto the ground. But do remember that Alistair has a rush of their own, and again, you feel like they're just waiting for that moment to go for it, but Grimwood again sidesteps with ease. They only sent out the one glove and just immediately got out of the way, far enough ahead of Alistair to not take any damage from it. And again, just continues to outbox them with both of those gloves, but finally the explosion catch up to them. But again, because of Grimwood's consistency with the gloves, they've already got rushed back up as well. They're getting it up just as quickly as Alistair is as Coil, which is really telling you all about the aggressive nature. But unfortunately, Grimwood made a catastrophic error there. Tried to go for the rush when it was already on its way, and the gloves retracted back, and that was always going to be it. It goes in Alistair's favor this time round, and that is one apiece. Coil laughing in the face of danger as we see this set tied up 1 apiece. It will be Viadals and Mausoleum banned, so Alistair does not want to go back to Mausoleum, and instead we are going to go to Sparring Ring. So 3 different stages for free here. And we're going to see if Coil is going to find themselves walled out into a corner here. Bearing in mind there is really not much space to move around in, and Grimwood is coming out with the big guns. Gone is Twintail, in comes Grimwood. Nade, Roaster, Tri-Blast. Bearing in mind there is a Nade and Tri-Blast on Alistair's side, so a Ditto could still, an Arms Ditto could happen, but it is going to be the Nade for Alistair and the Roaster for the big ol' Max Brass, who gets a big time grab to start this matchup with. And again, the amount of explosion just straight up lining the fence, hitting Brass for a lot. But again, because it's just the explosions, they have to be hitting in 1-2 consistent hit to be able to knock Grimwood down. They finally do so, and the Tri-Blast in midair are also doing it as well. Can they get the juggle? They do get the juggle! Beautiful play from Alistair, just chips Grimwood into the corner, and another nade explosion pops Brass into critical, and here comes the big ol' intimidation state. Another grab, 170 damage, and now the blasts are really starting to add up here, and Alistair knows how... Oh, what? What in the world? How did they get that punished? And Grimwood had the grab, and somehow Alistair got a bolt hit in there. No idea how that happened, but hey, there you go. It now puts Alistair into critical, and it is going to be all for naught in the end. Grimwood will take that point, but what in the world happened there from Alistair? I thought Alistair was about to do some massive play there, but Grimwood is able to shut it down for the... Whoa, what's that? Whoa, whoa, whoa! What just happened there? That is so much lag. That was a monumental spike at Alistair. That may be a lag dispute, or it could be a point to Grimwood. You don't know here, but as it stands, Alistair is already at half health, rushing on through the explosion, and is not going to get any more damage from there. Arm weak on the right hand side for Grimwood, who is going to come in with rush of their own, and you feel like it's only a matter of time before Grimwood takes this point away, as Alistair is just being rolled out consistently here. It is going to get a couple of pokes in onto Brass, but again, just these explosions and the roaster hits are just walling Coil out, and whilst they are starting to get a couple of hits in, it's not enough to move Grimwood too much. And Alistair chipping away bit by bit, and will come in with the rush, but they're still forcing the initiative, and actually does break the arm on the left hand side. Despite the fact they're only a point away from going down, they are still going for it. So much teleportation happening, but it's going to be Grimwood who gets the KO. There may be a VAR check here, because there was a whole lot of lag and a whole lot of spikes, so I'll wait to see what the Discord says to see if that is going to be a 2-1 or a 1-1 reset. But goodness me, that was a tremendous amount of lag there. So we're just going to wait to see what happens here. It's always one of those things. Oh, it looks like Alistair is admitting defeat on that one, so I think it will be 2-1 in Grimwood's favour. I do believe that is how that one is going to play out. And yeah, it will be 2-1 in favour of Grimwood, so Grimwood puts themselves... So it will be Alistair 1, Grimwood 2. And unfortunately, Alistair being told to reset their router as well. So it'll be a little bit of extra waiting time before we get this grand final resumed. But as it stands, Grimwood is 2-1 up. They are a point away from forcing a reset on this grand final. And well, this is the experience showing from Grimwood, finding their way through. Max Brass just completely walling out Coil in every sense of the word. So that is how that one will play out. And whilst we await for Alistair to come back into things, it also means that because Grimwood is in this lobby and Alistair is not, it means they're also going to be put onto opposite ends again. So we are just going to quickly correct that. If you are just joining in, here is how the bracket stands at the moment. Alistair making their way through by beating Grimwood 3-0 initially, but it's not going so well for them this time round. It's currently 2 points to 1. It looks like both parties are set and ready to go for what is going to be match number 4 in this competition. And we are going to be seeing Buster Beach make its return into this matchup. Alistair is set and ready to go. And Grimwood gonna come in with another switch. So we have seen Twintel, we have seen Brass, and now we're about to see Ribbon Girl. Both coming in with a toaster, but it's gonna be the tri-bolt that Grimwood will opt in for on their side of things. The bolts are very handy to try and take out Coil with as much as possible, especially when they like to be in the air. But then again, so too does Ribbon, and that is why they're going to try and hope that a stage like Buster Beach will keep Coil's movements restricted enough that the bolts will hamper them massively. Alistair, meanwhile, with that toaster and the fun chuck. Remember, we'll see 2 of each of them at some point throughout there, as you saw the 2 toasters whizzing on by with that charged up goodness. And it's going to be the rush on Alistair's side that scores in with the 335 first. Grimwood taking a little bit longer to get that rush charge back up to speed this time round. So Alistair actually favouring Buster Beach a little bit more here. Does get caught by not 1, but 2 back-to-back stuns. And Grimwood knows full well that despite the fact that they are losing a couple of these encounters, the bolts are still doing the damage and keeping this very much hotly contested. It's going to be both of them now with Rush ready to go, and the camera on Alistair's side is having to play massive catch-up here because, again, Coil likes to be in the air, but so too does Ribbon, and they're very fast and agile adversary, but they are going to get caught by another rush from Alistair, who finally gets themselves to health lead, but pegged by the bolt, but crucially manages to get the shield up for the rest of that. And it's going to be Grimwood who finds themselves pretty much a punch away from going down with 10 seconds left on the clock, and that will be the KO, and that will be Alistair's point. Now, as we go into matchup number 2 here, it's going to be Alistair who gets the initiative again. Another good break with the toaster, and already has Rush ready to go, and nothing Grimwood could do about it there. Forced into the hot pocket, and Alistair is definitely breathing a brand new life into this matchup. Look at how consistent they are being here. Gets a toaster hit as well. Grimwood is into critical condition. 1 more hit will give Alistair a perfect. It will be the first one at the Invitational. 1 more hit now. The pub are just about missing. Grimwood just needs to hit them and somehow manages to stop Alistair from getting a perfect. And not only that, makes that 2 hits in a row. And Alistair does not want anything to do with this at all. It's going to be another failed rush for Alistair and also for Grimwood, who is definitely not out of this match at all. Arm down on the left-hand side. This would be a hell of a comeback if Grimwood can find a way back from this. But you just know that there's so much pressure from a character like Coil, and the arm almost broken. And finally, the shield will drop. And Alistair is going to tie this set up. It's 2-2 in Grand Finals. How quickly it can all change. And just like that, it's anyone's game. You could see what Grimwood was trying to do. The ribbon came out, so too did the toast. They were trying to just stop Coil, to stall them down as long as possible. But the bolts, whilst they were landing, were not doing as much damage. And Coil just walled them out. So, it is 2-2 in Grand Finals. Alistair knowing full well that they need to win this point to not have a reset happen. And Grimwood knows that they have to win, otherwise the tournament is over. So, sparring ring will be where we return to. And that probably means that Max Brass will be making a reappearance, because we know Grimwood absolutely ran riot with that in the previous go-round, so it'll probably happen again. It will be Coil versus Brass, and there it is. So, Will this be the end of the tournament, or will we see one more set? We are going to find out. Nade, Roaster, and Triblast versus Toaster, Triblast, and the Hot Slap. What will Alice's pick be? It's going to be Triple Toaster versus the Roast, and the Triblast immediately goes for that long-range grab, and both shimmy into their respective sides, but it's going to be Alistair who gets the first hit. Make that another in a row. Good old 1-2 consistency, and Alistair knows if they can find a way of just keeping Brass in that corner, they may have an advantage. But it is going to get walled out in the end. The second Grimwood buffs up. It's going to be incredibly scary and very hard for Alistair to outpower them. But they are the hot charged gloves. They will do the damage and they will get it done. 270 up to 310. Grimwood on the cusp of critical, and we know Brass excels when they're in critical condition. And despite the lead that Alistair has, that will come rapidly downhill as Grimwood comes in with an onslaught of their own. And look at how quickly the tides turn. But another well-placed charged hit from Alistair could still yet send this the opposite way. It would be a massive shock if it does, and it does! Alistair finds the Toaster hit. And it's championship point for Alistair. Oh my. It's Roaster Triblast versus Triple Toaster again. Neither could get any kind of purchase there, and Alistair unfortunately committed to the punch as Grimwood went for the rush, so that rush was always going to go in Grimwood's favour. Now Alistair has to fight from behind again, but does get the purchase of their rush and brings it back down into an even playing field. They're going to give Grimwood a chance to buff back up again, but it's going to quickly run out. So as long as Alistair can keep these charged hits up, they may still yet come through. But again, they just lost their charge at the last possible moment, and a big time grab for Max Brass is going to quickly pop that back down to size. Look at how aggressive both of these two players are playing in here, and Grimwood again with another successful read on the grab. The more damage that they could do now, the better it will be towards the grand scheme of things. But another rush comes out and it tips Grimwood into critical condition. Now, here is where it all comes down to. Grimwood is just inching their way closer and closer. That massive JoJo intimidation tactic is going to wrestle it straight back away, just inching forward ever so closer. It's championship point still for Alistair, but it's reset point crucially for Grimwood. And the hot slap is going to come in alongside the Triblast, so Alistair going for a very different approach here to try and find a workaround against what Brass is bringing to the table. That Triblast and Roaster is always devastating, and that I feel like may have been a misclick for Alistair, because that did nothing for them whatsoever, and the Roaster is going to get ahead of things here. And now Alistair knows that they do not have much to go with here. Has to go through the rush, try to get the grab, at least gets a little bit of damage off the cusp of that, but the arm weak on the left hand side. They have to be so careful. Again, forcing another little self-destruct, but again, pegged down by the Triblast as well. Look at how quickly and relentless these two are going at it. Alistair with yet another rush, has the hot slap's gonna go for it again, but once more, Grimwood has the rush, had to drop the shield though, so still took a fair amount of damage though, 180, and the arm is still weak on that left-hand side, and you know Alistair is just working it time and time again. Grimwood finds himself into critical, but again, we know Grimwood excels at this position and has rush as well. Catches an explosion. Alistair has to be so incredibly careful. Commits to it, but is going to get caught by the rush. 285. Both are in critical, but Grimwood deals so much damage at this point. Tagged by another set of explosions, and the blast will KO! The blast KOs, it pops coil at the last possible moment. It's 3-2 to Grimwood, and we're doing it all over again. Well, I'll be. It is going to be a bracket reset between these two behemoths. Neither of them wanted to give anything against this, and as a result, it means that we are going to see a bracket reset in the PR Invitational between Alistair and Grimwood. Sparring ring just proved too much for Coil to deal with. Brass is always so devastating in critical condition, and that's what I mean. Despite the fact that Coil had a slight health lead, the Tri-Blast in critical induced Brass is just, it deals so much damage. And Grimwood using that to great effect, and as a result, well, it's back to square one. That is Alistair's first set loss of the day, and because double elimination rules are still in effect, as a result it is going to be that bracket reset. Anything can still happen, and do remember that that prize pot is up for grabs as well, currently sitting at $25. The first place will take 60% of that, second place will take 30%, and we already know Iceman, who finished third earlier on in the day, will take 10% of that as well. So it's all to play for. If you do want to help contribute to that pot, you can do so. It's exclamation prize pot. If you would like to have a look to see what you can do, we'll give you all of the instructions once you are there. But in the meantime, we are waiting for both of our participants to head back on in. Alistair was the first one in, so it will be Alistair on the left hand side of your screen, and it will be Grimwood on the right hand side of your screen. To think that I did 3 hours of casting for Rocket League earlier today, and we are at 2.5 hours of casting for the ARMS Invitational here as well. I am still your girl TK Layla. I've pretty much gone through one massive beaker of juice. Now I'm getting started on my flask of nice cold water, so I'm definitely prepared for this. I know full well that these kind of things can happen, where the sets can go on and on and on. But that's what we're here for, and that's what we enjoy with these kind of events, to see what the best players in Europe can do with this game, how far they can take it, and how far they are willing to go to be crowned winners of the Invitational. Like I said, Alistair has been in Grand Finals in the Challenge Cup only once before, so to get to the Grands in the Invitational itself is a massive feat. Grimwood, well, they've won the Cup 7 times. They would love to get the Invitational under their belt as well, but well, they're having to do it the hard way. They managed to win a 3-2 set to reset this bracket, which is why this matchup is still not over yet. And we are just waiting for Grimwood to return to the lobby, and once they do, we will get the stages banned for you. Remember, because it is a brand new set, we do go back to the original rules of the 1-to-1 strike ban system. So it will be our 5 starter stages again that will be banning from, which are, as usually the case, Mausoleum, Buster Beach, DNA Lab, Temple Grounds, and Sparring Ring, with the 2 counter picks coming on after that, which consist of Scrapyard and Via Dolls. They will be up for debate from point 2 onwards, where obviously the winner bans 2 of those 7 stages, and the loser will pick from the remaining set. So I do apologize everybody, there is no Spring Stadium, no Ribbon Ring, no Ninja College, and most importantly of all, no Sky Arena, which is always sad. But one day, it will return. But in the meantime, both of our players are back into the lobby and are raring to go. DNA Lab banned, Sparring Ring and Mausoleum banned. So it'll be Buster Beach or Temple Grounds, and it will be Temple Grounds that we will be dipping on over to start off the second grand final. The grand final reset. Alistair will be on the left hand side of your screen. Grimwood will be on the right hand side of your screen. It will be Coil versus Brast, both with a nade, both with a Tri-Blast. And what will the setup be? It will be a triple nade for Alistair and nade and Tri-Blast for Grimwood. The grand final reset is officially on the way, and it immediately starts with Grimwood overpowering Coil with those Tri-Blasts and immediately pegging them right between the pillars and scoring a very tidy goal. And puts them back onto the center stage as well, and Coil having a very hard time keeping up with Grimwood, who immediately retreats back into the corner. Their bolts will ping off the pillars for the time being. It's just going to whiz past the head of Coil, who does have Rush ready to go. But again, Grimwood also has it, and it's just biding their time, letting Alistair have to come towards them. And it will be Alistair who pops with the Rush first, breaks through the pillar, but can't get any damage onto Grimwood at all. Just chip damage and nothing else. Just look at the series of nades, the volley that Alistair is throwing, but it's going to be another Rush that will come out and hit Alistair, but the finishing touch did not find its mark, so it's only 190 damage for Grimwood, but crucially they do have the health lead by quite some margin. Will force a self-destruct, but again, Brass won't really matter too much with that. Then the explosion against Coil, however, definitely goes a different way, and Alistair tried to go for the rush. It was a brave move to go for it, but another explosion catches them out, and the momentum is very much shifted into Grimwood's favor. So, Alistair, nade, and Funchuck in the hand. Meanwhile, Grimwood not going to really switch up anything with that Tri-Blast and nade combination. It's been working so well for them so far. And whilst they did get caught with the stun of the Funchuck, again, it's not enough to stop that rush from Grimwood. So, that just goes to show what Brass can bring to the table. And does get a big time grab as well. Immediately follows on with the grab just to see if they can get a little extra 20 damage before they hit the ground. Not to be on this occasion. And whilst Alistair isn't too far away off that health lead, they also know that they need a really good successful rush, and unfortunately they're not going to find it there. Arm will break at the very least, but again, it gives Grimwood that extra little bit of incentive to get that rush, and now they have a chance to go in again. They get caught with the Funchuck, but it's not enough to really do any proper damage to them, and 330 on that rush means that it's going to be Alistair past the halfway mark, and Grimwood is just not giving Coil a chance in this match. Now going to get forced into the corner, into critical as well. And with 30 seconds to go, Alistair has it all to do if they want to try and find a way of bringing this back, because Grimwood is just, again, just immediately hops back towards the corner, knowing full well it's Alistair who has to do all of the attacking, weakens both arms, but again, Grimwood really doesn't mind that, because with 15 seconds to go, they've practically got this point in the bag, unless they do something catastrophically wrong, which I somehow doubt they're going to, because they're just pinging the shield up, and Alistair just cannot find a way through. So with 5 seconds to go, Grimwood will pop the rush, immediately get the knockout onto Alistair, and that is going to be 1-0. Grimwood started as they mean to go on. And they're not going to give Coil a second chance into this at all. Brass just continues to come in and just unrelenting. Just, Alistair can't just seem to do anything about it. It looks like they're stuck into one specific rhythm and they can't do anything about it. Grimwood has their playstyle done and pretty much fully read now. And I don't know what else Alistair is going to be able to bring to the table. They're going to have to mix up the style somehow. But it is going to be Mausoleum that will be coming out for the side of Alistair. Scrapyard and Buster were the two stages to be banned. So Grimwood really doesn't want to take Coil back to Buster Beach after what happened last time round. So Grimwood set and ready to go. Doesn't look like there's going to be a fighter shift at all. So Grimwood will stay with the Brass. Alistair thinking about what they want to bring to the table. Are they going to actually try to deduce an arm switch or two to try and keep Grimwood off guard, or at least change up their playstyle? Bearing in mind, if they don't change up their style at this point, Alistair is probably going to have a very tough time getting back into this. It will be Coil to go up against Grimwood. Back into Mausoleum we go. And it will be Roaster, Tri-Blast, and the Hot Slap for Coil. And we'll see what they want to bring to the table. It will be the Tri-Blast, or will it? No, it's not. It's going to be Roaster and the Hot Slap to go up against the Nade and the Tri-Blast that Grimwood possesses. Now, crucially, can Alistair do something a little bit different and actually catch Grimwood off guard? Because so far, they're just allowing Grimwood to buff on up and immediately just catches them with another series of explosions. Managed to get a little bit of damage here and there, but again, Grimwood is just sitting back and allowing Alistair to expend all their energy and just pick them out of the sky every single time. They are going to get a knockback at the very least. They do have that Hot Slap at their disposal and comes in with the rush as well. Grimwood already has it, so they won't get anything from it. And an odd kind of grab there. I'm surprised Alistair got that grab to connect. And Grimwood going to get caught by the Hot Slap as well. They'll come back in with a rush of their own. 200 up to 340 damage. Grimwood on the cusp of critical. Alistair into critical. And just like that, the entire momentum shifts into Grimwood's favor again. And Alistair again just can't seem to get a proper purchase on there. They're going to drift all the way to the left-hand side again. But Grimwood into that scary intimidation phase. The rush will come out from Alistair. Chips off the shield, but nothing else from that. And again, a quick little whiz away. And oh goodness me, that is a... oh wow, that is a lot of lag. That is a lot of lag from Alistair's point of view. What is I can't even figure out what is going on here. Coil just trying to shift into a parallel universe, apparently. Grimwood is going to come out with a rush with 5 seconds to go. I've never seen anything quite like this. And I think that's going to be Grimwood taking this point for sure. Oh, goodness me. That was... gosh, I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like that before in my life. And with point number 2 coming on up, Alistair immediately starts with the rush. Has the connection managed to sort itself out? I'm not entirely sure if it has. I think it has a little bit better here, but still manages to find a way through now. They've got the roaster on hand alongside that slap, so hopefully try and get some more charged hits and actually being a bit more consistent here, but again gonna run foul of another lag. And now Grimwood comes in, but caught by the slap this time round. Forces the self-destruct. Again, still falling foul of those explosions from the Tri-Blast, and Alistair knows full well that they've got to get these slaps to connect. Those double slaps are really helping out so far. They've definitely been what's causing Grimwood to trip up. And again, another roaster hit's going to come out as well. The grab just about missed it, but the rush will not. It actually does find a way through. 365. Grimwood now enters scary territory as we're into critical condition, but Alistair also knows that a punch will potentially give them that point back. We're going to be so careful, and the roaster will hit. The roaster finds its way through and actually does chip Brass down. So, Grimwood won the parallel universe round, but Coil does manage to tie this set up. So, what will happen here? Grimwood does get a big time grab and another one coming on out, but this is an immediate wall out from Grimwood. Doesn't quite get the finishing touch, so Alistair doesn't get a full on knockback, but again, still being tagged for those explosions. Comes out with a rush, but caught by the explosion. And another nice little peg down, and Alistair knows they are on the cusp of critical, and they've got a way back into this match to try and stop Grimwood's momentum, or at least slow it down somewhat. But Grimwood again just not giving a damn, just consistently flinging out and out with both of these utilities. The tri-bolts are just hampering Alistair, and the rush will come out. It does tag initially, but it's not going to do all of the damage with that bolt. Alistair will get another knockdown, and Grimwood has to get themselves into position. Shield up, broken, but that is okay for Grimwood. On the cusp of critical, they should be absolutely fine from here. Another hit with the roaster, and another little peg of damage. But somehow Alistair is remaining in this match with 30 seconds left on the clock. Grimwood should have rushed in just a moment, and not only that, if the chip damage does come through, they will immediately activate that buffed up crit mode, and we know Alistair does not fare well when that happens, and both of which are going to happen at the same time! And a big ol' critical grab is going to shove Alistair straight back down onto the floor. A nice big hug for the Max Brass. And that is Grimwood leading by 2 points to 0. Having gone the distance in the initial grand final, Grimwood is just not looking back. 2-0 up. And Alistair has to do a reverse sweep and also somehow not get themselves in a lag dispute if they want to bring this back and take this PR Invitational. They did the hard part. They were able to get through into grands via winners final, but so far it's Grimwood who has had the better exchanges here, and it will be Temple Grounds that will be coming on up in what is going to be a very crucial grand final match. Grimwood is set and ready to go, so too is Alistair. And there we go. We can see those nades and the Triblast respectively. Alistair thinking about which way they want to go with this. It's going to be the Hydra and the Triblast coming on out. So they're ditching the gloves entirely in the hopes that they can find a way to just slow Grimwood down and at least cover all areas that he'll be moving into. But at the same time, Grimwood not going to change a thing. The nade and the Triblast have worked so well for them so far. Alistair knows they've got to do everything in their power to get around all of what Grimwood has. It's a massive mountain to climb, but they're starting off much better here. And obviously the Hydra can run right through Brass, especially if it's charged up. So Grimwood knows he's going to have to be careful here. And Alistair being smart, using the pillars at their advantage and getting another explosion with the Triblast. And Grimwood definitely has a bit more of a fight on their hands here. The nade not going to do them much damage, but the Hydra again just runs clean through them. Finally gets a rush off and slows Alistair down, and now we'll see if they want to pin them to the corner. No, they're going to again back all the way up to the other corner and let Alistair come towards them, but there's no more pillars, and another Hydra poke is going to level Grimwood, and now it's going to be Grimwood forced in towards the corner, and a series of 1-2 hits there, and Grimwood on the cusp of critical, and Alistair knows if they could find a way through, especially with the rush, they could just skip the phase completely and get a KO. But again, more chip damage is going to send Grimwood into that critical buffed up state. The rush will come out, but it's not going to be in anything what Koyo was looking for. Punished by Grimwood, who flocks on over to the right hand side, and it is championship point for Grimwood. It's going to be triple nade for Alistair versus the nade and the Triblast of Grimwood that has been so consistent and so devastating against Alistair so far, who has got it all to do if they want to take anything out of this reset. But again, poked on down by Grimwood, quickly teleporting up straight down in towards the central platform, but again being pegged down back into the corner, and you just feel like Grimwood has full control of this match and of this final in and of itself. So many explosions off to the side, but Grimwood is just not giving a damn about them. Again, charged up and bulked up for free essentially. Alistair just giving them an invitation to just come back into it. Again, now sharing the middle platforms. There's a lot of explosions being tagged on Grimwood, but they're not doing as much damage as Alistair would like. Both will go for the rush. A bit of an exchange and an awkward balance there. I'm not entirely sure what happened there, but neither of them got any proper purchase on with their rushes, and now jostling for position. Grimwood back into the opposing corner. Meanwhile, Alistair trying to stay in this central area. It's an odd and scrappy fight, of that there is no doubt. There were explosions happening, but no damage is really being taken on either side. Both on similar healths. Alistair with the rush, and this might be it. I think this might be it. I think Alistair is just throwing it in, and yep, Alistair is throwing it in. That's it. That's going to be championship over. It's a bit of an anticlimactic way to end but it ends like that. Grimwood will win the PR Invitational, having come through the underground bracket. I say the underground bracket, having gone through underground final. That is indeed how it is going to end. Grimwood will take it, having lost to Alistair 3-0 in winners final. They will go on to not just win 3-2 in the grand final and force the bracket reset, but then win 3-0 after a variety of lag issues and just unrelenting pressure from the nade and from the tri-blast. So it means that your bracket will look like this. After all is said and done, this is how it ends. In first place will be Grimwood, winning the bracket reset by 3 points to 0. In second place, it will be Alistair. A very fine showing, but unfortunately the connection just given out towards the end, and Grimwood's brass is just still a very intimidating being to behold, but still a good second place. Iceman in third, Replicant in fourth, and then down there we'll see in Underground Round 2, Riffer and Elementa dropping out there, and then Yam and Raziel dropping out behind them. That is the order of things here today. And we are just going to give a quick refresh of the prize pot. It is going to stay at $25. So it will be 60% of that going to the winner, which is Grimwood. 30% of that goes to Alistair, and 10% of that will go to Iceman. Don't know if the commentators, tournament manager, or graphic designers will get anything from that, but you know, that's what happens. We can't always guarantee a brig. I can't even speak anymore. I've done 2 tournaments today. I just can't speak anymore. But that's what happens. You can't always guarantee a big prize pot. But it's been an amazing stream, and massive shout outs to everybody involved, to all of you for coming in and bringing in that hype and the chat. You've all been great. To those who made it into the top 8 and made appearances both on and off stream, we thank you for fighting on out. It's been great. Thank you to everybody working behind the scenes and the tournament organizers themselves. They have all been wonderful from start to finish, getting through all the disputes, and it's been a blast to see them all do what they do on a regular basis, so give them a massive shout out as well. And a massive thank you to them just for allowing me to do what I do here on the microphone and on stream as well. I do my best to keep as much information up to date with you as possible. So I hope you all enjoyed the experience, and hope we get to see you again in the future. If you would like to try and fight out for a spot in the top 8, just like